I've been waiting all night for this, for the last 15 minutes.
Let's see.
Yes, it can. Yeah, I thought I'd posted that this afternoon, but my
So,
see,
good thing I
my
mentioned it.
brain went places. Not a good place. Oh, look, Brett asked me things.
I did.
Cuddy Sark board.
Cody Sark.
I put the link to that board in there just so that Sebastian can use this as a sense of anticipation while he builds his musical accompaniment to a crescendo and then does the reveal.
Aruga, luga, luga.
Not that I would ever think about suggesting what he may or may not do.
It all just happens in the moment. Like, as I'm editing,
organic.
I'll feel something like this is trance music right here. This is hard rock. Sometimes it's calypso. You never know what's going to happen.
Right.
Sometimes I feel like Josh is hearing music in his head during the burger review. I just have to tap into that.
It's kind of like I'm a psychopath. There was a book written, and
Kind of
the
like
psychopath, whenever he went to go and started killing people, he had music building up in his head, and it came to a crescendo. And it was a Tad Williams Otherworld, wasn't it?
Oh.
Otherworld.
Yeah, Vig. Remember that was a
The
trilogy.
really main bad guy who was really bad.
In the virtual world and out.
I hope you guys
That was
hadn't
a
been
while
waiting
ago.
on me long. I kept checking the VMix room, but I kept getting the blue room.
Yeah, I only took it online in like a couple minutes before you showed up.
Okay, good.
My wife and I are working, mostly her, on getting my son to an earlier bedtime because he's been going to bed after 10 pretty much since he was born.
Oh boy.
So 9:30 is the goal, but it's been rough to get him in bed before I start. Muggy Maryland, huh? Well, it's very muggy in Michigan too, Michael. It's oppressively muggy here. People just want the burger. I know. I'll get out of the way. We'll start it here in a second.
Patience.
Patience is a virgin.
Okay, I have to use a different browser for that. Okay, the live page should be up.
It is.
Great. That means I am doing my job. It's a very simple job.
Ooh.
But that's
How do I
that's
look?
good for me.
But someone's got to do it.
Too light? Too dark? Just
What's
okay?
that like?
You look a
Doing
bit
your
like a
job.
psychopath.
Thank you.
That's probably what you were going for.
I think everybody up top is just trying to make Jeremy look pale.
Oh,
Well, don't need much help for that.
Oh, okay.
Sebastian, are you using the Stalker nightlight as your key light tonight?
Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm.
You
That's what I
noticed.
thought.
It was a little bright, now it's a little dark, but I'm not going to change it.
No, I understand.
For some reason, I always feel like my color balance is much cooler in VMix than it is with any other app that I use my camera in.
Mhm.
And I end up
Yeah.
having
You
to...
sound
cool.
very official with the way that you are speaking about the color of your calorimeter. Do you see where I'm coming from?
I'm trying.
You need to work harder
Oh,
than that,
okay. You
Josh.
like the
your
cut of
your
his jib.
rant at the end of last week's podcast was epic. People loved it. I don't know if you watched the podcast, but after you finish chewing me out for not having a pick and how I don't want to show people that part of my soul, I just had the whole thing end in a Windows Update blue screen.
That you did. I think you
saw
should
it.
have
I
held
did.
that just for another second, though.
I know, I thought about it.
was
Like, no, because it's a low-res photo. I couldn't find anything quicker or anything better quickly.
It was almost Blitvert speed.
Okay, let's start the show since we're all here. We're live.
Everybody's caffeinated,
Yeah.
especially Kent.
Yeah, I got my Aldi brand. What is this? Vi sparkling water, unsweetened,
Oh.
sodium free, taste free.
Sounds vile.
It's pretty bad.
Artificial
water?
water is the
Wow.
It's artificial water.
It's deuterium.
Oh. Getting heavy on us, are you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're going to talk about your sense of humor later, Jeremy. Let me tell you that.
Okay, let's just do it. Let's have a spontaneous show. Josh, you look a little blown out now. I'm just going to warn you. There we go. It's the white from the monitor. I'm just warning you.
It is.
Okay.
Yes, I know.
Okay. Let's get started. Hey guys,
That's like
welcome.
the scandal.
Oh, scanna bazooka.
I said I was going to get started. That's enough.
Humana.
This is the beginning of the show.
Just, I'm just working it out.
I know that you know that I know that you know that you want to
L.
All right, it's all good. Let's
start. Humana. You guys don't remember that?
Eddie Murphy
skit from the
Delirious.
80s?
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy Delirious. Yes.
Yes.
I do.
I know that you know that I know that you know.
Hey guys.
Oh, somebody.
Hey everybody.
It's not working out, Josh.
Three.
You got to practice.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 629 being recorded on May 19, 2021. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Brett Van Spoonberg.
And I'm Kent Burgess.
We've collected, we've gathered once again to recap another week of exciting news. I'm sure we'll have plenty of riveting topics, but let's get to the housekeeping first before we dive right into what everybody's actually here for, the Burger of the Week. But you can go to pcper.com/subscribe to be warned in advance before Burger of the Week happens. When we record that live, by the way, you may have watched the finished product with moody, sometimes somber music while Josh describes the burger that got away, or maybe the burger that wasn't quite what he expected, or I don't know, maybe this week will be something really special. But you can go to patreon.com/PCPer and become a patron. And Brett, I always check in with you at this point. Do we have any news on the Patreon front?
You know, we do, and I just want to reiterate that we actually really, really appreciate everybody's support on this, and it really keeps the site going and everybody going here, helps pay the bills, and make sure that we can continue to do this, whatever it is that we're doing here week after week. But we've got a new patron, and I just want to make sure to send a heartfelt thanks to them. Their name is Danielle Lawson. So thanks very much, Danielle Lawson, for becoming our new patron. And if anybody else goes to our patron this week and makes a change, like increases their patron amount, I would be happy to read whatever they change their name to within reason, because some people are unreasonable, and apparently we collect those people. But if you do something that is reasonable.
And do it while we're live. That's the thing. That's why you want to sign up to our PC Per spam list, so you're alerted when we're going to be live.
Yes.
Then you can make your obnoxious pledge, and then Brett has to read it out loud.
I do.
We still
and there's
appreciate them on
been,
other days, but you lose out on
do.
Brett's wonderful voice.
We do, but then I what happens is that we immediately slam the brakes on the show, and I read whatever you wrote. It's just that important.
You know what else is important?
We all do.
Josh, tell us the story. We have 2 pictures this week. This is going to be epic. Laramie, Wyoming. Burger of the Week. Take it away.
So, I called down, and of course they had taken the phone off the hook because sometimes when they've got the lunch rush, they don't like to take orders for external stuff. So I moseyed on downtown and went through the front door, and I saw this, the Big Green. You can see that. They don't really have soup, even though the shadow of soup still exists.
They have the shadow
So the
of
Big
shadow.
Green.
Soup
So can we
shadow.
move along to the actual picture itself of the burger? The Big Green, 2 4-ounce patties topped with arugula. Because I asked myself, where are the people going to get their arugula? And it's also got balsamic vinegar, fried green tomatoes, which, if you've never had, is an experience by itself. And then finally topped off with feta cheese. And on mine, I had some lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and pickles. And I wasn't sure what to expect. It's not often you put balsamic vinegar on a burger. But when you do, you expect things. And it tasted like spring. The arugula was extremely crunchy. You mix that with the onions and the pickles and the tomatoes and the fried green tomatoes, which is unique. And those things sometimes go a little bit more acid, sometimes sweet, but the balsamic vinegar, finally, at the end, it just comes through and it makes it all right. It combines it all into one glorious half-pound of beef that goes into your mouth. And that's the Big Green. And again, I'm not eating till tomorrow because that was a lot of food. The fries were perfect. They didn't give me enough because they were, obviously you can't have enough perfect fries. They're fantastic.
Were there really burger patties on that? Because it looked like all lettuce from here.
No, there were 2 4-ounce patties.
Okay. Arugula, though. Do you like arugula?
Not usually, but it had arugula has a little bit of extra spiciness for lettuce, which is, almost a weedy flavor.
Very much.
But it worked. It combined nicely with the balsamic and the fried green tomatoes and then the underlying beef. It was just really, it was a well envisioned burger, and the outcome was near spectacular. Again, it tasted like spring.
Musical accompaniment will be challenging.
There'll be some, but I'm just my wife loves arugula, and to me, it has the smell and taste. I've actually never eaten just tall weeds, but I feel like that's what they would taste like because it smells like waist-high grass and weeds in an abandoned lot somewhere. But that's just
the abandoned lot, with the undertones of old oil and rusting vehicles. That
and
yes, I can see
and
why.
decay. I mean, there's probably something dead in there somewhere.
It's a lot of Detroit in that description.
I'm from Michigan, so
Oh, there you go. The song of Michigan.
let's move on to a first step. We could talk about Bitcoin and the coin industry in general and how it basically crashed over the last 24 to 48 hours. In the midst of all of this, even though that's getting all the attention, NVIDIA had a press release yesterday officially announcing the light hash rate versions, the LHR versions of their graphics cards, sort of a refresh. We're not getting supers this time, we're just getting reduced hash rate cards. So in theory, be easier to get. Plus, I mean, if Bitcoin continues trending down and Ethereum with it, maybe we're turning a corner. Maybe Josh is right, and by this autumn, gamers will be able to get hardware again. But let's just look at the post here. A further step into getting GeForce cards into the hands of gamers. We're reducing the hash rate of newly manufactured GeForce RTX 3080, 3070, and 3060 Ti graphics cards so they're less desirable to miners. Stock image of the 3080 from its launch. And that's really all there is. It's having Halving. How is that pronounced? Would you say halving? Halving?
Having.
Having?
You know,
English is a
it's
strange
context enforced.
language.
It's
Half.
Halving.
It's half.
I think the most important thing that NVIDIA is trying to remind people here is GeForce is made for gaming. Darn it. We mean it. All those, the $100 bills that are coming out of our stuffed shirt every place, thousands of dollars falling out of our pocket every place that we go. We didn't want that. We didn't want that. We wanted to put these into gaming PCs, but we couldn't.
But anybody holding out for a 12-pin version, the Founders Edition version, sorry, Kit Guru is reporting NVIDIA has no plans to update those Founders Edition 30 series cards with LHR GPUs. So those are just
No, they'll come out with
FHRs.
mining edition ones of those.
These are FHRs, full hash rate.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. FEHR.
And the
Founders Edition
XHR
hash
series
rate.
to be released soon.
So, I mean, this is exciting news, possibly. It would be amazing
Possibly.
to find a 3060 Ti in stock.
Yeah, that's
As
not
long as you don't mind buying a really expensive package that it's inside of, you can.
Now, speaking of packaging, these are all going to be very clearly labeled. So you're not going to have to guess as to one way or another. It's going to be like part of the part number will be, LHR. So people will know. Because there's a downside to this, and that later on, when somebody might try to sell one of these, I think the LHR versions are potentially going to be not as wanted, maybe? I don't know what to call for it. To say that I think there's going to be
eBay.
Yeah, profitable to resell on
But here's
eBay.
the thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's offset that. Let's offset that. Somebody who's had a mining card for 6 months and mined the crap out of it. I mean, their boost clocks are going to be crap. And so maybe people will see LHR and are like, yeah, these aren't, flogged out.
So maybe it balances out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I would rather
The-
buy an LHR on eBay. But then again, there's still be a workaround for it.
You think? I don't
guessing.
know.
Give
This
it
time
minutes.
I feel strongly about it. I feel like it's stronger this time, and they've actually changed some of the silicon on the boards, on the LHR boards this time, as well as driver. Before it was just driver, and that was
But no, they said
thought
it
that
was. They said it wasn't just driver.
More
remember?
than just the driver.
They said it's more
Well,
than
there's some firmware involved.
right.
this time. I think that they're a little bit more screwed down. We'll see how long it takes.
the
I'm
behavior.
going to go 50-50.
The behavior, I thought, like you had to have HDMI or some kind of dummy in it.
That was
It
part
had
of
to
it.
think it had a monitor connected to it, and I don't think. Could be wrong.
For the
I don't think
3060
it supported
Ti's.
rigs. You could do a single card, but you had to do some trickery to have more than one running, and
Something like that, yeah.
so any kind of barrier to entry. The problem is it had been so profitable to mine that anything and everything was being done to just make it happen. So this kind of goes hand
True.
in hand with, Bitcoin hit $30,000 yesterday from a high of 60 something just last month. So that
Yep.
trend
That's the
continues.
other.
Yeah, for like
that's the other thing.
54,000 2 days ago.
Yeah.
If
Someone lost
should
their
have sold-
if
pants.
those keep dropping like that, then it won't matter that they've
guess
released the
Ethereum
LHR
is still
versions.
I'm sorry to talk over you. Ethereum
okay.
is still like over $2,000. So
But that's half of what it was. It was trading at like 4,000, 4,200. So
That won't
Yeah.
stop anyone.
you don't think so? No, because then they'll think,
No.
well, I'm getting it low. If you're
Right,
going
'cause
to
it's
do
gonna-
it, just buy it. Buy it low, and then hopefully it's worth more later. Don't mine it. Just buy it. And leave the
Yeah.
cards for
Yeah.
gamers. Save your $1,200 on a 6,800.
The last point on the labeling is that the TI cards that are coming out will not have an LHR version. They are all LHRs.
Oh,
So
really?
they won't have it as part of the part number. The TIs will be LHR out of the box. So they won't be labeled as such, but they will be low hash rate versions.
That's good branding.
Speaking of TI,
Yeah, that
apparently
was my
Zotac
point. Yeah.
thinks that NVIDIA will make a 3090 Ti. This is on, I think, TechSpot or Tom's. This is Tom's.
Tom's.
So, if I can scroll past all the ads here. Who knows? We're just
Well,
speculating.
Zotac has reserved a part number in their filings to say that they expect there to be a 3090 Ti, and I think that's about the extent of that particular rumor. So, Zotac.
You just
They're-
wanted to do
they're
that,
a little-
didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
And the GA102 die has 10,700 and what is it? 10,752 shaders. And the 3090 already uses 10,496 of those. So they're going to come out with a TI version that has 258 more shaders, and
Likely a gobble RAM.
yeah, maybe two gig chips on there instead of 1 gig chip, so it would have 48 gigs of VRAM instead of 24. But I mean, that's not going to help in gaming.
Don't tell people that. They get upset.
You're not gonna. No 48 yet. Not for a consumer level. I mean, that's
48
crazy talk.
HBM
It is.
to the world's most affordable graphics card.
Yes.
I would love to see the current generation, like if they could adopt HBM. I know it's not in the architecture, but I want to see a new HBM AMD card with a crazy amount of RAM and just some insane memory interface. Forget.
I think
256.
HBM3 is right around the corner, and
Mm-hmm.
it seems like it's more commercially viable than 1 and 2. And of course, 2 has been picked up by some other manufacturers, just not in the kind of numbers needed to make it much more affordable. But 3 seems re-architected enough that it might be kind of the tipping point for graphics. But anyway, neither here nor there. Sorry.
Well, you need more than
derailed.
one foundry making it also. And
That would help.
secondly, time out. We have a pledge edit. The
Okay.
person's name is Cult of Multivino. And we all know what that means.
The Allen is with you.
Indeed.
Alan's still
And thank you, sir.
probably mining like the wind.
Yes.
Oh, he's heating his house in the summer.
The summer thing is what
Not breaking, but mining.
is he
Yeah.
he lives further south. They're all in that kind of Kentucky area, and
He does.
I'm thinking about how would that even work in the summer in Michigan?
Well,
where
it's
nice.
all
It's
in
above his
the attic
garage.
crawl space.
You'd
Yeah, it's
think
in his
you'd
And he's
garage.
got
burn the
fans
house
in the
down.
summertime. He's got fans blowing out, I think,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You'd have to. Do
but it's still
something.
going to be warm. Yeah.
Well, let's move away a little bit from GPUs. Although laptops have GPUs. This is interesting. This is one of the more interesting stories I saw this week. Jeremy had posted about this. The internet is abuzz. Framework, a repairable laptop, a modular laptop design, or literally designed to be worked on, to have,
Yeah.
not everything is glued and soldered down. It's up for pre-order. It's $1,000. What can you tell us about this thing?
Well, definitely don't drop it because it may just come apart.
Okay.
This is similar
Not
to the
that kind of
Lego.
modular.
Well, it's very Lego-like. So everything on the side, like your HDMI or your display port, are little click-in things. You can see the silver just to the left of the laptop there.
Okay. Okay.
So they click into the side in the way that you want. They didn't really talk about what the internal interface is, but it's probably some sort of bizarre PCMIA thing. And this way, it's not just that you're picking what goes inside of it in the terms of your storage and your processor and your RAM, but if you really don't want HDMI out, or you don't care, but you'd prefer more Type A's than USB C's, you've literally got these little click-in chiclets, as you can see there, where they just slide into the slots on the side, and you're actually choosing what your peripherals are. That's the neat part about it, but also the worrisome part about it, because I can see this being an extreme point of failure, especially after seeing what people do to just poor little USB plugs. As for the hardware, well, Tiger Lake Mobile is still going to be BGA, so you're not going to be upgrading it after the fact, but you've still got your choice of 3 different models. your choice of just about any WD Black SN 750 or 850, depending on what you want to do, or none, because for the memory, the storage, the connectivity, you can choose none. So you don't get charged for it because you've got your own NVMe SSDs kicking around to toss in there, or you've got a bunch of LPDDR to sling in, or that's faster than 3200 that they offer. Maybe you don't need vPro on your Wi-Fi. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't give a flying about the USB-C charging, so you bring your own power brick. It's sort of an interesting idea. There's no optical drive on it, which is upsetting. The resolution is an interesting 2256 by 1504, powered by Intel Z. And
Sounds Apple-like.
I know, right? And I'm wondering if that's maybe where they source the screen from. Same with the 400 nit brightness.
It's a weird 13 by 532 display. Did you see that? That ratio is sort of interesting.
Yeah, it says 3.2,
Yep.
but yeah,
It's not quite. So, I mean, depending on what you want to pick up, you can pre-order them now. The 750 is about the cheapest one, up to 2,000 if you want a whole bunch of things added to it. And what they're sort of saying is that if you put in a totally refundable $100 deposit, you can get your name on the list, because, of course, there's going to be a limited amount of these coming out before they see how well it does.
Was this Kickstarter?
this is the best thing I've ever
I don't
seen.
get it.
These interchangeable
Right?
pods on the side. If you want 2 Type A USB ports, you got it. If you want a Type A and an HDMI, you got it. Display port.
And you
Although
can't
they
ploy
really
on
are
a bunch
just-
of USB-Cs because you got lane limitations, but still.
Yeah, I can see this is just a USB-C dongle, like a super compact one. But hey, it's better than carrying a bunch of dongles around with you, and I imagine these would store better in a backpack than a dongle would. If you want to take a
Yeah,
couple of
well, I'm
extras
just worried
with
about the
you.
dust buildup on the plug-in and just how
Is it a full-size
how
SD?
good it is at blocking
No.
anything getting into the internals via that.
This
But
is interesting. One of them is just extra storage, so 1 terabyte or 256 gigs of 1,000 megabyte per second. So just like, what is that? 20 megabit Thunderbolt or 10
it's a fancy USB drive.
gigabit Thunderbolt. Yeah. So that's interesting.
But you can also boot from it. They mentioned
from
that, so you
that,
can
okay.
literally have your Linux set up, your Windows, and your whatever the hell else you want, and shut it down, pop that in, boot back up in a different OS.
I love this. No floppy drive? Says Shadow.
I know.
SUV. I know.
I
I
know.
know. Wait, more
Do you
coming
remember the
soon, though.
old-
I should have scrolled more. Maybe a floppy
Do you remember
drive
the
on way.
old PCM CIA cards, though? I mean,
But
this is
that's
sort
what
of
I'm thinking
similar to
is. Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Now,
go to
is
the
that
Truly
interface USB-C or is it Thunderbolt? Because if it's Thunderbolt, they could do
Yes.
all kinds of stuff with that.
I'm guessing it's just.
Well, it's Tiger Lake, so there's no reason it couldn't be.
I thought Intel had a discrete Thunderbolt controller still. I'll have to read the specs. I don't know if Tiger Lake is.
I didn't see
integrating
Thunderbolt
Thunderbolt
mentioned at all.
controllers.
It's not built in. They do have a discrete controller.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like something Peak, and I cannot remember the name.
Titan Ridge and
It's not
I
Lake
don't remember
Peak,
the
is
next
it?
one, the one after that. No,
Oh,
it's not Lake Peak. I'll go look it up.
Sebastian Peak?
Yeah,
Cougar.
Sebastian Peak.
It is.
the-
It's
yeah.
Sebastian Peak. That's the 40 gigabit version, I
That's
think.
the 80. No, I demanded that
Oh, the
they give
80.
me the future-proofed, like 4
that was
by
good.
4
You held out for that one.
Whatever it has to be.
Good call.
This looks like a MacBook Air clone, but so many things do. That's what I wish they would come up with a unique design, because silver, thin wedge shape, black chiclet keys. It's been done. Giant trackpad, but that's what people like. So
Well, people equate it with a quality build,
do they?
actually.
But you just said it wasn't
They
a
do.
quality build. It's a
I
fragile.
didn't say
I'm
that it was or
worried.
wasn't. I
Oh,
just
that's
said people
interesting.
equate that look with a quality build.
But look, you can have your own bezel color. Stop complaining about bezel colors. Just pick your own. I would do an orange bezel with a gray laptop. That would look cool.
It would. The Lewis Rossman word on this, because I know you're waiting, is that they are still not providing schematics.
Oh, brother.
It's for board level,
How much
level
has he
repair.
raised now?
But
Of
the
his $60
modularity
million
is
he wants?
wonderful
Uh-huh.
with this. But
it is.
he asked them, hey, you guys are going to be providing schematics for board level repair? Because that would be like the final word in repairability. And the answer is no.
Okay.
No. Modularity is
Sorry.
good, though.
Did you know that AMD's Ryzen 5000 processors might be closer than we think? Says Tom's Hardware. Is it the XT all over again? That's the question.
Yeah. It looks that way. But they do get an important number as a badge of honor if you scroll down to the chart where they're listing the old and new speeds. I spy me a 5.0.
Oh, nice. Yeah, a heavily binned 5950X perhaps that hits 5 gigahertz. That's single core boost, right? Or two core
That's
boost.
that's the rumor. Yeah,
Okay.
it's probably their 2-core.
Okay. But
Favorite
you could probably
cores.
massage that into something higher, or perhaps maybe get some more cores involved.
While the previous generation's XT versions might have been kind of a whiff. I don't know. If you haven't bought one of these yet, it's certainly not an upgrade path for one you already own. But
It's like 100 megahertz upgrade. It's like the XTs. So if that's what it is,
Yep.
the silicon has matured over time. That's what they kind of said last time, is that we can offer higher clocks, and we're not on a new process tech. It's just all just been refined, and or is that
we're
not
just
how it
getting
works,
better
Josh?
at it.
Josh, you've been oddly quiet.
Yes, he has. He's laughing to himself. I've seen it.
No, I don't know what we're doing right now. I was trying to find a perfect GIF for something, and it just,
Oh yeah, it's
The moment,
Yeah.
the moment is past.
yeah, it's gone. So,
Time sink.
whatever you're talking about, sure.
The XT versions of Ryzen processors. We had the 3000 XTs. They're talking about maybe some 5000 series Ryzen XTs with slightly higher clocks. But I'm sure it'll be the same process again, like last time, right? They just
Yeah.
they're learnings from the process and
They're
enabling higher
tuning it.
clocks. Tuning.
Yeah. It's nothing terribly exciting.
Okay.
It's going to be a small jump. And I mean, if they follow what, the previous 3000 XT series, they were not terribly popular. They sold some to OEMs, I think. Some people in retail were not terribly impressed because the performance increase was not all that much for the price. We'll probably see the same thing, but maybe it'll surprise us. Maybe it'll, instead of 100 megahertz base and boost, they'll do 200 across the board. Maybe 300 at the top end. I don't know. It'd be exciting. How come
Heavily
it sounds
binned
like
top-
there's it was like road noise.
Well, I have an air conditioner running right over here.
Oh.
My wife
That's
cranked it,
probably-
of course, before I started. I've been unsuccessful in reducing the sound because the fan has been going nonstop.
Nice. But anyway, yeah, it's not terribly exciting to me as a consumer. But hey, 5600 X's are in stock pretty much everywhere now at MSRP. So what
Speaking
more
of
could you ask for?
faster and better GPUs, new
Yes.
models, Igor's Lab. It is rumored, exclusive details actually from internal slides, of a Radeon RX 6600 XT with 8 gigs of memory.
Oh, this is a mobile desktop crossover, I do believe, if I
Wasn't
read
that
this
kind of what the
correctly.
5500 was?
56 maybe, but yeah, 55,
The
56. I'm not sure
the
which one.
5500 was a small, kind of mobile style GPU, but it only had 4 gigs of memory, and that was the one that was 8. It was a by 8, and that's what this is again.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about a by
Yeah.
8 instead of a by 16, small GPU. We have
So I think the word is that he's sort of deconstructed it here on the expectation based upon just some sizing. I don't know if I'm not even sure he got power requirements out of this, but he's comparing it to as a competitor to previous gen 5700 XT
That should be
level
great.
performance.
Now this is, wait,
Yeah,
am
that
I
would be
misreading this? Is this
fantastic.
not a desktop card, or is it a desktop card?
Well, I think it's like I said, it's a crossover, and I think what Igor is saying here that you should probably deploy this on PCIe 4.0. Although I'm not sure why he's coming to that conclusion, but that's
Because
what
of
he's
the
saying.
bandwidth the lane limitation. Because if you do 8
Maybe,
lanes
but
of Gen 4,
But we
I don't
haven't
know.
really seen anything that
Yeah.
we've plugged into PCIe 4 outside of certain SSD storage that has, I hate to say this, but has deserved the bandwidth. I mean, you're not really seeing a tremendous amount of difference between PCIe 3 and 4 on GPUs, a tremendous amount. You can push it that hard with storage. But he's pretty much stating that this particular version, you're going to want to deploy this on a PCIe 4.0 bus.
Maybe they know something we don't know.
I don't know. Not entirely sure.
That would make more sense if it was by 4. Although,
Yeah.
here's the
Yeah.
reason it mattered before with the 5500. Because if you got the 4 gigabyte version, it was actually swapping RAM.
That was it.
And it
Yes,
needed
it's
more
the-
bandwidth to do system level memory swapping, right, for VRAM.
It was the bus width because
Yeah.
it's not as high.
You know what?
Maybe
you know
not
what? Is
not
it-
as
completely
high, but it
unreasonable.
just leveraged it more. Yeah.
Speaking of leveraging, new standards, Intel leveraging more efficient ATX standards. We all loved it when NVIDIA tried to reinvent the graphics card power connector. Intel
Did
wants
you
to do
say
the same
leverage?
thing.
I'm pretty sure you meant strong arm when
Well,
you said that phrase.
It didn't really end up taking off. It was the founders' cards, and was there anything else with the 12-pin connector? But
No.
this, the ATX 12 VO power connector. This looks like something off of a Dell OEM power supply.
I think they're using like 8 pins on that Dell. But yeah.
Yeah, anywhere from 4 to 8 or 6, but it's not a PCIe, and if you do plug in the
It's not,
PCIe, bad
no.
things happen.
And 2 4s, not a weird 6.
Yeah. Intel wants to make a change for 12th generation Alder Lake. Now, I admit that I'm not up on my ATX standards. I learned last year about the SATA 3.3 with that sleep function, and those certain drives you shucked wouldn't even spin up unless you used an adapter or covered one of the pins.
Nah, just cut that wire, man.
Well, you
Just
can
cut
do
it.
that too, yeah. And
Yep,
this is
I did
another
it.
change to ATX. So what's this all about? This is about efficiency, right?
Oh.
Well, I'm just waiting.
So
I'm trying to
they're
find the last.
cutting out.
Oh.
They're cutting
Oh,
out
gosh.
the 3-volt and 5-volt rails on that, so it's only 12-volt. So if you have anything 3 or 5 on there, then the motherboard has to convert it, and that's why the motherboard people are pissed off.
They are. Did you just put up
Interesting.
the German version of that?
I
wasn't
did,
sure
yeah,
whether
that
you
was
were
the link that I
reading it or
pulled
not.
up.
ASRock has actually was releasing boards that were this standard like a year ago, or at least they were showing them on their website. They were going to be.
I vaguely remember mocking
wanna
those.
see- I believe they were going to be Z490s when they came out.
Yeah, I think the
And-
Tai Chi board has that, but it's only a couple of the USB ports where there is voltage regulation on the board, but it's just taking 12 volt. And they claimed that it had better charging for like devices that you plugged in.
That's right. That's right. It shifts the conversion to lower voltages that many drives need, either 3.3, but mostly 5. It moves that from the PSU to the motherboard.
Yeah, I'm doing a quick
That's
search and I
correct.
can't find our most recent Intel power supply review. It's strange.
But Intel power supply, yes.
That's
As
funny.
someone who builds a lot of custom PCs and pays a lot of attention to like cable routing and stuff, that part of me thinks, hey, this is great. One cable from the power supply to the motherboard and 2 or 3 to the graphics card. But then there's the part of me that goes, okay, the power supply is actually designed to do this, and they've been building them to do this for a really long time. And to think that motherboard manufacturers are going to be able to do this as well, I think we're going to probably see a lot of dead motherboards very early on if they do this.
What do you mean? Because they're not practiced in doing voltage conversion on the board?
Not
this
in the
extent?
same way. Yeah, not to this extent.
I mean,
we-
think
Not in
about
this-
in the past 40 years of power supply design and manufacture, you'd think that they would have perfected it. And right now it's pretty good, but that's why we still have power supply reviews, because there are still supplies that don't cut the mustard,
Absolutely.
that are not great in certain things. And you'd think that
True.
we know how to make them and make them well and do it relatively inexpensively, but that's not the case. It's just, I mean, there's still a lot of physics and solid state circuitry involved that you're going to have quality control issues, just and design issues, because people are cutting down as much as they can. And motherboard manufacturers will be doing the same thing, except now they not only have to worry about like CPU power delivery and, you know, power delivery to the PCIe ports and whatnot, which previously was pretty easy because it's all 12 volt anyway going, you know, throughout the board, and the power supply handles the 3 and the 5 volt stuff. And now they have to put all that extra crap on there to do 3 and 5. I think that's just asking for, yeah, I agree with Kent there. It's asking for trouble, because I mean, motherboard space already is at a premium, and how is that going to affect, you know, kind of the micro ATX and ITX type boards where space is even more at a premium?
Well, you get another location on the board with a set of VRMs and chokes outside of what you usually use to control the bridges and the CPU. You get another
And the heat.
set of those. And, well, heat, of course. Yeah.
And the localized heat. But the other thing I'm thinking is, you know, just broadly speaking, replacing a power supply tends to be significantly cheaper than replacing your entire motherboard.
I was thinking about that. That might be arguable,
So,
though. I mean,
if you've
certain
got a power
PSUs are
supply,
expensive.
oh, you want a platinum? Yeah, you're going to be spending an immense amount of money. But then again, you're doing it for a reason. You need super low noise and decent thermals, and you don't care how much it costs to get that. It was almost going to be one of my picks because it was about half price off, but it's still almost $200. But I'm just thinking that you've got another part that can fail. And whereas in the old times, you could pop out a PSU, pop in a new one, and away you go. If in this case, you're looking at one of those converters going, you're just assembling the whole system and going out and buying a new motherboard. That doesn't seem great to me.
But it's great for the motherboard manufacturers.
I
don't. Yeah, you don't. This is maybe not the best time to add more complexity and more components to motherboards, considering that there are such shortages. But what do I know?
Or a switch over in standards away from components that people may already have. I mean, if you've already got an expensive PSU that you've invested in, and they're not cheap, many of them are not cheap, you know, easily $100 plus for 850s, thousands, that'll definitely serve you, even on with today's heavier draw graphics cards and heavier draw CPUs. Potentially this standard destroys that and turns that into what we hate, e-waste.
What about this kind of thing has happened before, right? Because was it negative 5 volts or is it negative 3.3? Like ISA.
There were. I mean, those are still there, but they're not used very often by anything. But there's PSUs still provide them. Many of them do.
So anyway, times change, and apparently we're going to see some weird new additions to motherboards designs. That's if Intel gets its way. AMD, obviously, that's the enthusiast choice right
You
now.
know, Intel got its way with BTX.
Yep, it did.
Yeah.
For a while. It's really not a bad idea, but I completely missed out on that. I've found a bunch of BTX stuff and looked at BTX stuff, but it passed me by. The energy level is very high tonight.
Sorry
Well, that's
about
because
that.
we need a word from our sponsor to inspire us.
You know, that would be a perfect time to suggest a word from our sponsor, which is a new one tonight. It's Molecule, the indoor air purifier, destroying indoor pollutants for everyone everywhere. So I will be happy to read that in later.
Okay, how about a cleaner intro into the ad? Or we could just use that one.
From, I don't know, it wasn't bad.
It wasn't, but it was half of the ad. It's okay.
No, the ad would be.
How about a word from our sponsor with all of the points about them? And
There's
the product?
quite a number of points that they're quite
Hey,
specific
that's fine.
and
That's fine.
yeah.
It'll
Brett,
be
do
in
we
the-
add
in
in
the
this
read.
is
in the
not...
South. Will they be sending out review samples?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
You know, I did not ask about that, but I would be happy to take that on, or if somebody else wants to take that on and
Yeah.
go over that.
As long as it isn't the one that Alan uses, it'll kill you if you stay anywhere near it.
Oh, I
That
heard
zone
that Sebastian
generator
was
thing.
keeping his at half speed.
Well, I have
From what I read.
2, and they're both on low. It's kind of the equivalent of 1 on high, but not as loud.
And do you
They
keep
run
them on
24 hours
low
a day.
just to keep the noise level down?
Yeah, I have one in the
Mm-hmm.
dining room, one in the living room. No, 2 in the living room right now. I moved things
And you
around.
find them obviously useful.
Well, I have dogs, and I'm allergic to dogs, so they're a requirement.
Wow.
We have a German Shepherd who sheds all over the house and makes me sneeze and watery eyes and runny nose and all that stuff. Okay.
All
But
right, then.
My wife just
Moving
had
on.
a German Shepherd. Yes. We're back.
Now I wasn't. Go ahead.
No, we can be back in a minute. What were you gonna say?
I wasn't sure about the next one because I can't speak to it.
I
Number-
can't either. So
number
let's skip
5.
it. We don't need to talk about
Okay.
Google Wear
Yep.
OS. Uh-oh. Questionable AMD PCI driver? Okay. I have not heard anything about this. All right, let's come back. We're back. We're going to
Hey.
hear about possible. Everybody loves driver-related news and rumors. What could be more exciting than a PCI driver, which could improve game stability, but also be a security headache? Please, somebody tell me more.
Well, what they did here was it's actually sort of crazy to think that a company with as high a profile as AMD seemed to program something that had so many shoddy characteristics to it. It actually doesn't even appear to be a proper device driver, although it is registered as a device driver. It's a process that runs in the background that essentially looks for, I think it's like 12 or 19 different hashed processes running and then disables certain hidden caching or hidden values that disable certain caching mechanisms on the machine. And it's written so poorly that the way that it searches for processes can be fooled by other legitimate processes potentially. So that's what's called a hash collision. They used a very poor collision or hashing a value that has multiple collisions to it. But they left the process open so that it could be potentially fiddled with by user level processes, so that if another process sees that it's running, it could essentially use this process's API to cause something to happen on the machine, which if one of the processes it is looking for is not running, causes the machine to crash. This is essentially a software black eye for AMD that they would put out something this shoddily programmed and this easily taken advantage of. It's not a good look.
Apparently, it's
And they should never
only
have done something like this.
B1 stepping of Zen 1 and Zen 2 XT series.
Correct. It's for older CPUs. But this should never exist. And I'm not sure if it's still running in later ones. That wasn't really clear that was true or not. But yeah, I mean, as far as the attack surface goes, if you can even call it that, it was really relegated to only affecting older processors. But AMD, write better software. Not a good look.
No.
Be better, AMD.
We
Hold
believe
on.
in you.
Yeah, be more like Apple. Says
Well, we'll get to that in
Brett.
a minute. We'll get to that in a minute, where we can praise Apple's software acumen or lack thereof in certain cases. Justin just joined the PC Per patrons, so
Welcome to the family, Justin.
Justin, you're awesome. Thank you very much.
You're invited
Josh,
to
do you have a special?
for this.
Do you have a special message for Justin?
We love you, Justin.
No.
I love putting Josh in the spot. You never know what you're going to get.
Or what you're not going to get.
Or what you're not going to get. Anyway, AMD
Hackaday.
bad.
Oh wait, no.
Bad
wait,
on
wait,
AMD.
We're going to wait. We're
Oh,
gonna,
sorry,
okay,
go ahead.
enough bashing AMD about a driver
All
for
right,
PCI.
all right.
Okay,
It's
Hackaday. Hackaday Prize 2021. Rethink, refresh, rebuild. By Mike author of this post.
You wouldn't do well in the middle of Europe, would you?
I don't think so. SZCZYS. It's probably like
CZs.
Sick.
Mike Shish.
Disease.
Mike
Disease.
Mike Krzyzewski.
Sussex.
Anyway, the Hackaday Prize, it begins right now. Like right now, as you're listening. Wait, May 18, yesterday. It began yesterday.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Well, it's something they've been doing for, I believe it's 8 years now. And the idea is that they come up with 5 project topics. And the step sort of goes that you can actually win some of the prizes without ever building a damn thing if you know what you're doing and write out proper instructions and parts lists and assemblage of something that is obviously going to work. Though you're not going to hit the grand prizes unless you actually do produce these things. The grand prizes are kind of nice, up to 25 grand and a residency at Supply Frame Design Lab, which is one of the bigger labs down in the States that just sort of gives you everything you'd ever want to play with and sees if you can create something sellable. But there's a whole bunch of other different prizes. Like there's 5 top prizes as well as 50 or so others, 10 for each of the sections, based on various different things, like the example I gave of your overall project design. So this time around, they're trying to rethink everything. And of course, refresh work from home life is one of the topics, because why wouldn't it be this year? So if you've got nifty ideas for building your own ergonomic desk or ways of making, working from home and separating work and life a little bit more effectively, that's a category for you. Rethinking displays. So not just the nice little weather thing display on the outside of your door so that when you're going outside, it'll give you a list of everything and mention, oh, by the way, we're not seeing the fob on your keys. You forgot them, you moron. But even just like the usability of stuff for people that have physical challenges and can't really accurately use a touchscreen. Come up with a different way to do that. Rethinking robots. Not necessarily building Robbie the robot, but more automation. Those boring, repetitive tasks that you've got to do all the time, like washing the dishes, because, frankly, your dishwasher is a robot in a way. Kind of a crappy one, but it still works. So it's that sort of a category. Supportive tech, which is not so much better ways of providing tech support, so you won't win anything for providing a way to finally punch someone through a phone line, but, please to keep working on that. This is more, making the learning curve on stuff that you use less sharp. So how to properly document things, how to take a program that, at first looked like Photoshop is absolutely and utterly insane, and, run through the basic stuff that someone would actually use if they were going to use it, or GIMP or another type. And then the last one is just sort of a wild card, and essentially it's problem solving. So you've had a different project that you were working on, it went horribly, you couldn't do a damn thing until 3 weeks later, you just had a brainstorm, and boom, this is how you solve this problem. And so they're focusing more on ways to do ridiculous problem solving, how you would go through the troubleshooting of your own steps in designing something to see, this is how you avoid this idiotic thing that I did that ruined me for 2 months. So it's more of a wild card, but again, it also gives you a lot of stuff to work from. So it'll take a couple of months before the winners are announced, but it's worth keeping up, because part of the wonderful thing is that all of these projects are documented. They're posted. Even if it doesn't win, you'll still be able to see how to make them. So you'll actually be able to, browse through these and see if anything grabs your fancy and something that would be enjoyable for you to make.
So it'll be documented, unlike the modular laptop we talked about.
Yes.
Which is sort of documented.
Right.
Sort of.
Not to Lewis, not to his...
No. Not to the Lewis Rossman TM
No.
level.
Audio tours. Microsoft Flight Simulator.
I love this idea.
Okay. Is it computer generated audio tours or just recorded audio?
No, it's actually, if you scroll down, you'll see that if you subscribe to a particular, almost, I think it's called like a radio channel, Bush Talk Radio. It's a connection that you can make,
Radio channel?
sort of, but it's
Inside
like you
a
connect-
virtual world.
Yeah, Josh, what do you think about this? I think it's
Which
a
you can
cool
drive
idea.
around in now.
I know, that's awesome.
Well, you can drive around in Flight Sim? Okay.
Wait, I've done that originally, but the highways are not that cool. And the cars, when they go whizzing by you and through you, kind of breaks the whole thing. You got to
It's
be
no
at
truck
least
simulator?
100. Yeah, you got to be at least 200 feet above ground before things start breaking down. But I've run around quite a bit in MSFS 2020, and the Europe is really nicely done. Japan's nicely done. US is nicely done, except the first time that I installed it and didn't install it correctly, and like Rushmore was floating above Rushmore and some other goofy things. It's pretty neat to fly around a lot of these monuments. I went to the Middle East, and I looked for that big evergreen ship that was borked, and of course, it wasn't there. You had to get a mod. But I decided, what the heck? I'm close to Cairo. I'm going to go fly around there. And they have all of the really big major points of interest, even without having done kind of a specific geographical upgrade. So like, Japan has an update that added all kinds of stuff, and better photography and photogeometry and specialty structures and other points of interest. And it did the same thing with US and now Europe. And so you're even in the original, you still see a lot of this stuff. So you saw the Sphinx and the Great Pyramids and the big museum in Egypt, and you can fly around these things. So having a virtual tour and having little facts thrown out about the things that you're flying over, and I mean, Paris is chock full of stuff to see, from the Eiffel Tower up to Triomphe, the Louvre, all kinds of crap. Cathedrals, all the major cathedrals are all there. I'm kind of curious what Notre Dame looks like now. Anyway, but yeah, that's it's neat that Microsoft has made it as extensible as they have, that mods are easily developed for it, and these third-party people can make some reasonable amounts of money by doing these mods, and this is just kind of one of them. It's pretty nifty.
Yes, radio thing sounds actually cool. It might be something that would be like, oh my gosh, I would like get into this just to simply fly to places to hear about them. I think it's synthesized from a variety of different public sources, which I mean, they're a varying degree of quality. Some of them are like Wikipedia level, but others are more encyclopedic in nature. But it's a really cool idea.
Well, apparently people are recording their own and uploading them, and they're getting judged on quality, so it should actually grow over time.
Nice.
Yeah.
It sounds like a tourist thing. Like you're flying, and one of the interesting things about this building, it was constructed in 1862, and you learn about little facts.
Yeah.
And
Some of us like those sort of things.
there's an old legend that his daughter actually drowned in a lake here, and her ghost comes back. All right.
I might landing.
Maybe
in the
if they
car.
could do Andy Rooney voice.
Ooh.
Did you ever see a
Oh,
palace? I hate those.
Look at the size of the lawn here. I wonder how long it takes to cut that grass. I'd never live in a house that big.
Yeah.
Let's enter the world of Kislev. Can we get a Total War Warhammer 3 update, Jeremy?
So you know how everything gets tower defense nowadays?
Yes.
Well, Warhammer 3 is getting tower defense. There's a special game mode where essentially you pick which one of the 4 realms of chaos you want to go and try and establish a foothold in, and it you pick your army. You can do it alone, or you can actually do a multiplayer with 2 people. And you have to go and fight what the people at Rock, Paper, Scissors or Shotgun described as making the end game battles in the previous 2 look like jokes. So you're fighting off hordes and hordes of demons trying to survive. If you manage to, well, then they're going to attack you again because, well, they're really upset that you managed to take the little capture point, because that's what Warhammer needs, is capture points. But the plus side, you're now allowed to gate in reinforcements, build certain fortifications, like, say, towers that shoot at the demons, which are now coming to take back the capture point that you've taken. This is not part of the main campaign, thankfully. This is an optional game mode that some people, I'm sure, are going to enjoy terribly. And I mean, it might be interesting to take a look at, but it just seems so very, very different. But at the same time, so much better than what the multiplayer was before, which is, here's how many points you get, 2 armies go bash each other. And, fun to a certain point, and then it gets sort of boring. But as for Chislev, it's looking very, very berry. You've got bear-drawn artillery carts, bear cavalry, crazy ice bears that you can summon. So, it sort of sticks with them. Haven't seen anything yet of the damn ogres, which is the one I'm really looking forward to, or any of the Oriental-style races that barely even exist in the pen and paper and tabletop games. But Cathay is going to be a big thing in this one. Sometime later this year.
Hey, and Jeremy, while you're still kind of in the spotlight here, can you walk audio listeners through the type of news posts you can expect to read on PCPro.com? Acer is not a name you really associate with high-end components, but they have new
let alone memory,
which you wrote about. It's very low latency. Who are we looking at here? Audio listeners.
Well, I mean, there's a certain famous actor that you might have heard of, although they redid the movie lately without using the proper man. But not only did he appear in Rambo as the character Apollo, he also appeared in Predator.
Wait, what? Not Rambo,
No, not
Rocky.
Rambo.
Or, sorry, Rocky. What am I thinking of? Rambo.
Rocky, Apollo Creed, yes.
It's another R.
Yes.
I like
Carl
the subtitle.
Weathers.
Ignore the name. Timing
Carl Weathers.
is everything. Because we're talking about low latency RAM.
But they named it
Figure that out.
Predator Apollo, and I'm sorry, but there's only one thing I can think of that applies to both of those.
You are
And it's-
absolutely right.
And,
So,
and
yeah,
this
read that
illustrates,
article. But yes.
just illustrates perfectly Jeremy's deep thinking on the news.
There are puns within puns. There are
Right.
visual
It
gags.
will be followed up by the Predator Apollo Action Jackson Mandalorian.
Yes.
Damn it, I was about ready to do Action Jackson.
Sebastian, I would like you to scroll to the single comment on that post, if you would.
Hold on. I had already moved on
okay.
to the next. I
We can
queued
wait.
up the next story, but let's see.
No, I think
Let's go down to
it's a good comment
Okay, I hope this is worth it.
because it takes it just one level deeper.
Ed says,
I'm very
"Let's
proud
hope
of it.
Let's hope it doesn't end up
Oh.
costing an arm or a leg."
I think it was worth
See, that's
it.
what makes it all worth it, is when someone gets it and then one-ups me.
And then just takes it all that slightly further.
We're seamlessly transitioning to the reviews portion of the podcast. Kent wrote a very nice little review about a very nice little cooler from Be Quiet. Please tell us more, Kent.
This is the Be Quiet Pure Rock Slim 2. It is not a low profile, but it's a standard tower cooler, but it is very small for a tower cooler. 135 millimeters in height, uses a 92 millimeter fan, 3 6 millimeter copper heat pipes. And when I got the box and saw how small it was, I mentioned this in an article. I didn't have a lot of high hopes for it. But when I saw the price, which is just shy of $26, and then I did the testing on it. And so basically what you've got here is a cooler that outperforms or equals the very best stock coolers. It equals like the AMD Wraith Prism, which only comes or came on their highest end CPUs, and far exceeds the Wraith Stealths and any of the Intel stock coolers for $26, and it's practically silent at all but the very highest fan speeds. You really, as far as I can tell, you can't beat it. If you pick up a used Ryzen processor, you don't have a cooler, go buy this thing. You can't beat it for that price. If you're not going to be overclocking, it's a great little cooler. And like I say, absolutely silent at all but its highest 2000 RPM fan speed.
Let's talk about photography for a second. This might be the best picture of the year so far. I stopped and just looked at this. It's a picture of the base of the cooler, but I don't know what it is about the lighting, the reflections. It looks ray traced. It's RTX.
It's
enhanced.
definitely good.
Yeah.
It's good.
And that's a very flat looking base. This is a direct contact, 3 heat pipes going across here. It looks very, very. You mentioned that it was quite flat, right?
It is the flattest and smoothest direct contact plate I've ever seen.
We're talking about a $26 cooler here.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I liked the previous picture actually showed your attempt to illustrate that flatness with a razor blade that was backlit with a high intensity light and showing no gap.
No gap. Yes, there's no gaps. I've never seen a direct contact base plate that didn't have at least a small gap between the aluminum and the copper where the heat pipes are matched to the plate. And it's just, the only difference is the color. It's ridiculous.
I like how this is out of the box set up for AMD, which is a departure from a lot of stuff the last few years.
Yes.
It's not your standard AMD mount, but you had mentioned the Intel. So I fight the tabs here. It's just the push pins, which are not anybody's favorite. Getting them on is always kind of a pain because of pressure.
Yes.
I always have one pop out when the last one pops in, and
this seems like a cost reduction here.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think they could have done something else and kept that price point.
Yeah. That's what you see from the lower end side stuff too. They go with the push pins for Intel with the lower price point models. But pretty freaking nice for well under $30, because that $30-$35 range has been dominated by the Hyper
212, yes.
The 212,
yep. This is smaller. What is similar cooling capacity, maybe a little bit lower cooling capacity, but quieter.
Yes.
That's the thing about the 212s. It's not silent. They're like 44 decibels under load, 45.
I could absolutely not hear this fan over the rest of the system noise below 1500 RPMs. And with the testing, that's with a pretty highly overclocked 3600X, running at 4.3 all core. When I didn't put it on the chart, but I just set that CPU at stock and let it run, and it never got over 62 degrees, and the fans never got over 1200 RPM.
But you wouldn't recommend this for a 3900X? There's a question in the chat.
No, Be Quiet says that it is a 130 watt cooler. Now, my hardware info shows that the 3600X, the way I've got it overclocked, is pulling about 105 watts.
Okay.
And this did cool it for the 20-minute stress test, and it did not throttle below the 4.3, but just barely. If it had gotten 2 degrees Celsius hotter, it would have started throttling. So I don't think I would go for anything over 105 watts. I probably wouldn't recommend going over 95 watts.
You don't happen to have it there, or is it installed right now? Just wanted to take a look at
It's
how
actually
physically large it was.
installed. It's installed, and it's a long story. The reason my background is not what it has been is because I had installed that on my streaming PC that I set up behind where I'm sitting now. And I had tested everything and shut it down on Sunday to make some room for what I'm working on behind me. And I went to hook it up tonight, and either I've got a dead motherboard or a dead power supply, because no power at all right before the show.
How would a new 12th VO power supply had
That's the
served
key.
you here?
That's the key. He needed that conversion on the board.
I did, yes.
Or would that have bit him harder?
lazily
I'm guessing-
relying on your PSU to do all of that conversion for you. And look what
I'm
happened.
guessing that it's the motherboard, because that motherboard is probably the second oldest motherboard I've got in the house. So as a very early generation B350, but
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you gave it the gold award. It's definitely worth checking out. I will mention, I know that you'd kind of gone back and forth with me about pricing. Make sure you're getting it for the MSRP. And
yes,
some resellers are trying to sell it for like $45.
that was what I first encountered, and that's why I actually emailed Sebastian about it. I was looking at this cooler and looking at the numbers I was seeing, and I had not heard a price on it yet. And so I looked it up on Amazon and saw $46.60, and I'm like, okay, no. And so I emailed Sebastian, and he contacted Be Quiet, and they got back with us very quickly. And at that point, the actual proper listings had gone up, and it's $25.90.
That's
and
what
at
they
that
do.
price,
They do the 90s. They don't do 99. So that's kind of
Yes.
their $26 price point. But that's the
Yeah.
cheapest cooler they sell. And the next one up is only about 30, 35, and it's the 120 millimeter. This is a 92.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Basically, they couldn't stand the fact that it was actually really good for a really excellent price.
they're just trying to take it. Whoever it was taking advantage of the component shortage.
Indeed.
I'll be completely honest. It's probably good that I didn't know the price to begin with, because if I had seen the size of this cooler and saw the price, I would have gone into my testing under the impression that this thing just can't be good for this price at this size. But it really shocked me as to how well such a small cooler could do.
Hey,
and
it's
stay
not
so
the size
quiet.
that matters. It's the motion of the fan blades.
You keep telling yourself that.
Fan blades. Okay, that's
They know
it
what they're
is.
doing down there, around your CPU area. It's all about hands. Anyway, speaking of hands,
We have one more review.
Yeah, let's real quick. The thing I'm actually using right now to do the podcast, when Cherry, you may be familiar with Cherry of Cherry
heard of 'em.
MX switches. They make office style peripherals, believe it or not. And they have Cherry SX switches, and I didn't even think about this, but the MX is mechanical switch. I guess the X is for switch. And SX is scissor mechanism switches. So just a
In
very...
retrospect, this makes sense.
Yeah, it does, in retrospect. They have very utilitarian looking... This is just a matte black office keyboard. It's a wireless keyboard. Nothing exciting here. Uses scissor switches, not a membrane. So it has a little bit... I don't know if you can even hear that. It's pretty quiet, but
Barely.
it has a little bit of a crisp, slight clickiness to it. But the real star of the show is this innocent looking, just kind of symmetrical mouse.
Why? It looks so unassuming.
Because it's so quiet. You can't... I'm clicking on things, and I don't know what
Were
I'm
you
even
really
clicking
clicking?
on. I was clicking. Yes, you can. There is no sound when you click on this mouse, is what I'm trying to say. It is the quietest mouse I've ever not heard in my life. So you can read the review, look at some more pictures of the keyboard. The keyboard's just, it's a little bit nicer than your average membrane keyboard. I like that scissor mechanism feel in these. It feels like an old laptop. That's how I described
with
it.
the legs extended, does it have deck flex? That would be like a thing. I wouldn't
There's
like that at all.
very little flex. It doesn't flex as much as, say, a G3 iBook. Those were pretty flexy towards the middle, but it has similar feeling keys. That's what I was thinking of when I was typing on this. If you
Really?
remember a G3 iBook, those scissor mechanisms and that particular kind of keycap is what they feel like.
It had a very reasonable amount of key travel.
Yes,
that I
yes,
didn't
above average
didn't
key
hate.
travel with these.
I liked it. It was like longer, but it was nice.
And this is one of those, you know, you get all the everything connects with the one dongle. It's just your standard wireless desktop setup, but it's all AA
Is that a
batteries.
self-destruct button on the bottom?
That's actually the dongle.
The big red one?
It's red, so you don't
Ah.
lose it.
You pull
Smart.
it out. Well, I mean, you could lose it.
You could.
And these are all AA batteries, right?
Yep, two AA's in the keyboard, one AA in the mouse. It comes in black or this white, sort of lifestyle
Oh.
color.
That
And
is
it's
that's cheap,
lifestyle.
Yeah, $46.96
color.
on Amazon.
That's decent.
Nice.
Under $50. Ultra quiet mouse. And I have been listening to myself on playback when I edit the podcast for months. Click, click, click. Every time I change screens or bring up a different tab, there's a click.
You're right.
And this thing
You're
is
right.
dead silent. It has that.
Do you still
little,
get an activation feeling?
Yes, it's like a trackpad on a laptop where you feel that slight click under your
Oh,
finger.
yeah.
You don't really hear it out loud.
Hmm.
It's just like that.
Nice.
It's almost like haptic feedback. They nailed it. What's the name of the mouse? It is the Stream mouse. It's the Stream series. So
So they like
Cherry
aim
Stream.
these at live streamers, is what you're saying.
exactly to be
Just
quiet
so
in the
that-
background.
Yeah.
You don't need anything flashy because it's not on camera. It doesn't have any lighting. I mean, if I were to build my ideal streaming keyboard, it would have just a faint white backlight so I could see in a darker environment. But you can't have everything for $46. I would have got this just for the mouse. That's why I agreed to do this. I was reading their literature and it's like ultra quiet mouse clicks. Like, really? Is it ultra quiet? It is. Anyway,
There. That's an
that's
endorsement.
all I have to say about this.
Cool.
And it's time to move on to picks of the week.
Picks. Week.
Indeed.
Picks of the week. Week.
Sebastian has 90 seconds to finish his pick.
All right, Josh. is first.
Okay. You know, last week I had talked about how much I enjoyed my Grado SR 225s, and that, you know, if you're looking for, you know, headphones, you should maybe consider them. I mean, they're a little bit more pricey, but boy, they last a long time and they sound great. And I was wondering why they were hardly in stock anywhere. And now we know. It's because Grado, after a decade or so, have released their new X series of the Prestige series. So the last ones were SR 325Es and 225Es and 125Es and a couple lower. Well, they've finally changed the diaphragm. They redesigned the headband, which is something that people have been disappointed about for a long time. And they have a new material for the ears, because if there was one thing about Grado headphones is you had to break those ear pads in and also kind of break your ears into the head pads, because you could, you know, when you first start using them, you'd like have them on for an hour and then it'd get really irritable. That's now kind of looking like a thing of the past. And you know what? Their SR 325Xs are made of metal. And so those are machine blocks of aluminum, I think. Specifically, pardon, I can't remember all the things that they've done, but it's just not, you know, like regular metal. It's treated, so it has audio qualities that most others do not have, and yeah, they're kind of expensive at just shy of $300, but you can get them now. They're brand new drivers. You know, they're Grado just doesn't update their stuff very much because their things are just so good. They only upgrade when it makes sense, typically. And apparently, it now makes sense to go ahead and do that with new technology. And so we'll find out more about the materials and what they're doing to make it. I'll contact John and see if he'll get back to me, and we'll go from there. But, for your consideration, they're available now at the Grado website. You can buy it directly from them, and hopefully soon. And if you says many in stock availability, this is like the antithesis of GPUs. These are brand new headphones, and there are many in stock you can buy now.
It's the anti-GPU.
So take that GPU money and spend it on some headphones. You'll be happy because you'll keep these things for a decade at least, and be pleased.
At today's
with them.
prices, you could barely buy the fan part of a GPU for $300.
I know.
Just
Yeah,
the,
that's
just
that's
the front and one of the fans, not all of them.
Yo, you
just
want one? You want a 1650 2 GB? That'll be $350.
Yeah,
What I
yeah.
want to know is, and the 325s are my favorite, because you can go up to the reference series, and the RS2E was $495, but the 325s and the 495s were the same. The RS2E just had the wooden
Wood.
enclosure. I believe it was the same driver, just the difference in the enclosures. So the best bang for the buck, in my opinion, was the Prestige series and the 325. But I am worried about the new driver. Will it still have that mid-range sizzle?
I'll
You need
see
to
what
find
I can
out
do.
for us. Okay.
Okay.
Would you qualify
Okay.
these as open or closed?
No,
I
they're
really
open.
couldn't tell.
Oh, they're
All
open.
Grados
Oh,
are
They're
okay.
they're
Okay.
fully
Well, they might have
open.
one
You
closed.
can hear.
No, they're open. They're open.
Yeah, you got to have a quiet room to really enjoy these. If you're surrounded by noise, get something closed. But these are, I mean, their bass in the mid range are so good and hit so hard
Yeah.
because they are an open design, and they're only what? How many ohms did I say? 16, 8?
I thought they were. I don't know what
16?
they are now. They
32?
were 32 before.
Yeah, I think they're
32
still going to be
ohms.
32.
They
Look
need
at the
some oomph to
specs.
drive them.
38.
38.
Oh, okay.
Crazy.
They might be a little quiet on
Adapter
certain
comes
amps.
attached. Just pull it off.
That adapter
tell
is just
ya.
a little lewd.
Look, the frequency
Okay.
response 18 to 24.
We should stop watching this part right now.
I can't stop
stop.
watching the insertion of the quarter-inch adapter.
Oh my god, it's like the audiophile version of Meat Spin.
Just pull it off. Just snap that
How many
off.
times
Snap
can you
off the
watch
adapter
this?
right there. You need it. Just snap it off. All right.
We're going to
I think
hell.
I saw that episode.
Jeremy, save us. Fans, computer
Oh
stuff.
no. Yeah, it is computer stuff. But this is people like their blinking lightkin. And so this has got to be one of the most ridiculous
What?
fans I have seen in my
This
life.
is a
So I think
fan?
people will
It
actually
looks
like it.
This is the fan. This is the whole thing.
Yes, that is the Solomons AM SF120 thing.
Those aren't LEDs.
It's so impressive that even black and white won't make it look good. Switch over to one of the black and white artist photos, and it still doesn't help.
This looks
at
kind
all.
of awesome. What's going on with the
I knew someone would like
inside
it.
of the fan here? There's like a second set of blades inside the other
I didn't
blade.
see that at first.
Cutouts. And I'm sure they do wonders for the noise, because who cares? What this is designed for is cooling and blinking. And my God, does it ever blink.
It looks like for $20. It's just
And that's 20 Canadian. You're probably getting
right.
cheaper
It's
down
like
south.
$10 US. No, not really. It's like $14, $15.
So
But
yeah,
it-
if you need fans that will just stand out beyond anything,
If you want fans that look like insects,
or really really mangled UAVs, or yeah, I just couldn't not share this with people because it is something else.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say.
okay. Well, you will in a moment because it's your turn. It's your turn. Your pick, Brett. Go.
So, as many of us do, I received the email from one of the internet's favorite electronics and computer parts retailers,
Circuit City?
and
Tiger Direct.
Yes, it was a CDW, except I deleted that one.
Oh, okay.
And then I read the one from Newegg, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this. This is a really good price on a 10-inch, 200-watt powered sub. I happen to have a 200-watt 10-inch sub from Definitive Technologies in a very, very large room, and it disappears. So this is a really good size and an excellent price. The regular price on this is significantly higher. So $140 for a 10-inch ported sub with a bandpass filter, a volume adjustment, as well as remote power on. So all the kind of minimal features that you'd need for a reasonable audiophile-ish type home audio system, especially accompanying video or watching movies. This would be a great addition to your AV receiver or setup that you have for watching videos in the whatever room inside the house.
Be
The
careful.
10-inch sub is going to be pretty good.
Be careful when positioning it, because the rear ported
Correct.
subs,
I
they sound a
have-
little tubby when they're too close to the wall.
I have
They
my
like to
10-inch
huff
sub
at you.
in the corner, but it's ported on the bottom.
Yeah,
So
those
that
are
actually
easier
that
to
helps.
place.
Correct.
I will
You have to
say
be very careful with wall placement.
it's a good price, but don't expect room shaking bass, because it's a 100-watt
No.
sub that can do momentary 250-watt
That's correct.
power, which is all you really need.
However-
unless you're listening to music, this would kind of fall down with that constant
Exactly.
bass line. But if there's an explosion or
Exactly.
two or something,
But at this size, even in a sizable room, it is, and what I think I mentioned is it disappears, in that you do not want to be able to localize like where your bass effects are coming from in watching video or watching a movie or something like that. That this size, I think, is really excellent for room filling, bottom fill on movies and watching videos and TV. And a really good price.
let me
She's
see.
a fat-bottomed
Cat.
sub.
My pick this week is the website Accessories for Less, which, if you haven't ever heard of it, they are basically the internet's. Well, if I'm clicking with the right mouse here, they're the official refurbished seller for a lot of brands. So if you go down and look at their official brand, like affiliations, they're the Marantz and Denon and Yamaha and Kef and Focal and Polk Audio, Canton. They are the official refurbished store for all those brands, and a couple of others. I've bought multiple AVRs from them over the years, different sets of speakers. My sub came from them, which is why I was thinking about that, because if they actually have, I don't know if they have the one that I have, but the stuff kind of comes in and out of stock, and you have it's like it's a clearance center, so you have to check. They occasionally have some new stuff too, like they'll do factory seconds and stuff like that. So if it's just a sub that's going to sit on the floor, who cares what it looks like? There's a
Hey, there's that
12-inch
Clipshot 12 at $139 to $199. Not quite maybe as good a price, but we'll see.
Yeah, because you
$199.
usually have a choice with them. So here's a used one. Oh, they don't have any. Open box, they have 6. New, they have 4. The pricing obviously goes down lower if it's open box. Like, there's like store returns. It can't be sold as new anymore, that kind of a thing. But
Isn't open box almost equivalent to used? I mean, that's a
legally,
distinction
yes.
without a difference.
Yeah. But I've got a pair of Canton floor standers that I bought from them a couple years ago. They are fantastic. Just general purpose tower speakers. I don't even have a surround setup right now because I just have those two on the sides of the TV. They only have one set of Cantons right now. The stuff comes and goes. That's actually, I'm in the speaker package section, that's why. But anyway, check it out. They're actually legit. It sounds weird. Accessories 4, that's the number 4, less. They've been around since the late 90s. And if you buy something from them and it's factory refurbished, you get the warranty. I bought a Marantz component from them. It failed within so many months. Contacted Marantz, gave them the place to purchase, like, oh, okay. And then they just, like, sent me a replacement unit. So it's all
That's great
real-
that they respect them as a legitimate outlet.
They are their
Yeah.
official refurbished partner. But check them out if you're in the market for an AVR or something. You can spend way less just getting a B stock unit or something from them. And that's it. I actually had a pick this week, sort of.
Woohoo! Hey, I noticed a
pick.
lot of audio in the picks actually lately.
Yeah, we've been doing that. And I want to pick like Josh has talked about that Sound Blaster, and I love just the idea of a Creative Sound Blaster card because it's so classic. I will say, if you check out Audio Science Review, look at their review of the EVGA New Audio Pro. The New Audio was great. I reviewed that. I got a Pro in. I never ended up writing up the whole review. I need to do that, but it was just taking it to the next level, basically. It came with a separate multi-channel component that was like it had to be connected to it, almost like SLI. You had to do a data cable from one to the other. But the New Audio Pro, check out the Audio Science Review of that. It is fantastic in measurements. The performance is great. The measure performance is near pro level, which, I mean, that's the name. You pay more for it, but you're getting a tremendous sound card that rivals discrete external DAC and headphone amplifiers in and above its price range. So we can do that another time, but there's a lot of really good audio stuff out there. But I'm shortchanging Kent here. Take all the time you need. Kent is next with his pick of the week.
Oh, but he's quiet.
Uh-oh, I hit the wrong button.
Not quite anymore.
No, it was me.
Oh, it was you. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
excellent. So my pick of the week is something that we have not seen in over a year, a reasonably priced, high-quality power supply. This is the EVGA Supernova 850 G3. It's a gold-rated model that's been around a few years. We actually did a review before my time. Lee did a review of it on the website when it was introduced. And he gave it a sparkling review. It's a super flower design inside. It's a very compact ATX power supply. It's only 150 millimeters long, 130 millimeter fan. I've used multiple G2 and G3 power supplies from EVGA, and they've all been fantastic. This one is back at what is a reasonable price for, like I say, the first time in over a year.
I'm looking for a 1000. Oh, wait, Jeremy has a 1000.
Jeremy has
got
it.
that one,
That's
yeah.
rare. It's a rare bird.
Oh, you're
Now
cut off,
you've
man.
muted.
No, I didn't do that.
Sure you did.
No, I was rooting around, and I didn't want you to hear the noise
Oh.
of,
Nobody
knocking
wants to
things
hear
over
you
and shit.
rooting around. And let me tell you.
No.
Well, Jordan does,
There's-
but that's
Oh,
it.
okay.
No,
Yeah, that's
no
another
rooting.
Another subject.
Ay,
entirely.
ay, ay.
But no, for whatever reason, this was actually cheaper than the 850. And in that one store had all of them, and one store only had the thousands, and it was like, yeah, okay, I'll pay $10 less for a 1,000 watt, even if I don't need it.
So what was that in Canadian?
I think they charged me like 120.
What are those rubles?
120
What are they-
Canadian
what is the
rubles?
money?
Yeah,
Canadian
no, it was
rubles?
like
That's
it was
cheap.
a very, very good deal.
And look at it now. Here's the 1000. $335, but it says request price.
Oh, if
Holy
you have to
crap.
ask.
You have to log
If
in
you
to
have
see
to
the price.
ask.
But yeah, 1,000 watt power supplies have been selling for well over $200.
That's
And look-
also not from Newegg. That's
No, it's
from
not, yeah.
1+1.
Okay,
Yeah,
ships
it's
from
from
China. Most customers
Please
receive
allow us
within
5 to 8 weeks for
32
delivery.
days.
7 to 32 days.
You know,
Yeah,
somewhere in
right.
there.
Sure.
Was there anything else this evening?
No.
Okay.
Mm,
They came
I'm
in
glad
at a
you got to
tight
throw in
hour
a
and a
pick.
half ish. It'll be. I don't know what it'll actually be after the editing. An hour. I'll just cut out everything that I said.
No, man, you moved it right along. So nice.
I tried.
Nice job. Nice job.
And we'll do it again next week. Tune in again for more exciting news, more reviews of exciting things like inexpensive desktop keyboard and mouse setups. Maybe I'll even throw in an SD card review. You never know what's going to
Crazy.
happen. You never know what's going to happen.
I just got an NVMe drive to review, so I'm going to try and do that. And I was thinking about posting a review of an air cooler, and then I read Kent's review, and I'm like, oh.
I've got to up my game a little bit if I'm just going to throw
Let me
in
rein my gain a little bit. So, and then I'm like, well, I'm going to rethink that. And then I went and ordered a couple of IC Diamond pads so that I could actually do some comparisons between different ones. I was just going to like review the cooler as a standalone unit, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I should probably compare this to the couple of other air coolers that I have. I mean, Kent,
Yeah.
I guess I got to go do that.
Kent, what pads do you use? Do you use the Thermal Grizzly, or what do you have?
No, I use the IC Diamond graphite
Okay.
pads.
I just ordered a couple of them.
The Thermal Grizzly carbonates are actually not extremely reusable. They're pretty fragile. The IC Diamonds, as long as you sort of, keep your hands off of them, off the main surface of them, just hold them by the edges or with tweezers, they're great.
What do you think the difference is between the IC Diamond pad and like a really excellent thermal paste on the same installation?
From what I've seen, it's probably about, on an air cooler, 3 to 5 degrees. It's really not that much.
3 to 5 degrees is a lot.
Yeah, it
Talking
is.
about thermal
That's
interface
a
material.
delta just
Well-
for the interface.
Yeah. But
Well,
the
I'm
IC
thinking
It can
only
only
Diamond
be
boost
pads-
350 pounds,
the-
which, it's not a lot as compared to
I'm
other
speaking
people.
The
at
purpose-
peak.
The
At
purpose
peak.
behind the IC Diamond pad, especially in this case, is to say I didn't screw up the thermal compound between, different cooling systems. It's exactly the same. That way, what I'm showing here is comparable. I mean, Kent, you can.
That's-
Well, what you do is you just
Yeah.
use the entire tube of the non-conductive thermal paste, and then it's like, look, I use the entire tube of the NTH1. It's only like $8 to $10 a tube. And it's
There are
fine.
some people that should only use the pads.
Yes, that's true. If they'd used a pad in that Verge video, the internet wouldn't have had as much fun. Although
True.
they wouldn't have used it properly.
No,
Don't
there
put
would
the
still
pad
would have been
under
fun.
the motherboard.
Right. You did note that that particular installation video, if I recall, actually only used 3 of the 4 mounting screws for the cooling device. So
Well, right,
Yeah,
but at
believe
that
you are
point they
correct.
were using so much thermal paste that it was just glued down anyway. So
sure. I mean,
Not
mind
very
the gap, right? Whatever
yeah,
it takes.
it's fine. All right. Well, I
Speaking
think
of
we should-
regular thermal paste, I've been using the Kingpin paste
Yeah.
recently. That is some really good thermal paste. You have to apply it with the little spatula and get a nice thin even coat over the whole heat spreader. But man, that stuff performs really well.
For testing purposes, I've been actually using the Noctua stuff.
Yeah, that's generally what I use.
yeah, the Noctua is what I
'Cause I've
always
got
bought.
like 8 tubes of it by now.
Yeah, I kept buying bigger and bigger tubes of it, actually.
The gallon size. It's with the pump on the top.
Yeah, I put it on with one of those blue sand, children's sand castle spatulas. That's what I use.
Okay. Actually,
I-
no.
I tend to get enough of it that way.
Half-width kitchen spatula is not a bad thermal paste applicator if you think about it. For that one swipe application.
Hey, in all seriousness, one of the latest
Old
Thermaltake air
business
coolers,
Yeah,
That's
old
perfect.
business cards
Yep.
are great.
one of the latest Thermaltake air coolers that I got actually came with a grid that you can put on the bottom and a small spatula, so that that stipple pattern that you sort of see out of a lot of the coolers or water coolers that kind of has it. They have a plastic grid that they include to lay on the bottom so that you can get that sort of gridish pattern on the
Nice
bottom of the cooler.
aesthetic to your thermal paste install.
Exactly. I'm like, who thought of this? This seems above and beyond.
Does it come in Threadripper size or just normal?
Regular people size. Not really especially well endowed. I've just gone off the deep end again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're in after show territory now, so it's okay.
Yeah, if we're
Did
an
you hit
after
record,
show,
by
I've
the
got
way?
a teaser.
I kept forgetting to mention
My
that.
new policy is just to hit record moments after hitting stream,
Perfect.
so I don't forget
Good
again.
policy.
Let's see.
Yep.
Hold on, let me put
Boy,
you on
did we
camera
really
so I
have
the
it
full
even a
wave
cutoff?
again.
Oh, wow.
are you
Look
doing?
at that.
What is this? What is this?
Some sort of a enclosure.
A monolithic.
What kind of water cooler
It's
is
a
that?
giant
Spills?
water block.
This is the stupidest named case in the history of the world, the SSUPD Meshlicious.
Oh, the Meshlicious. Yeah.
Oh my.
SSUPD.
Yes.
Sup, dude?
Sup,
That's
Meshlicious.
It stands for Sharon
Sup.
Stone's Upskirts Paid Dividends.
Okay. Well,
you're right about that. Oh wait, that wasn't the statement. Oh, sorry.
I can't
Sure.
wait. Everybody loves airflow again. It's popular again.
It's true.
So that is 14.6 liters, and I'm going to put a hardline loop in it.
Oh boy. That case
Using
last
a,
week I did was 19 liters. So this is small.
It's small. You're going to use one of those combo blocks that goes on top of the CPU, or are you going to do something discrete with a pump and
I was
Block.
going to do something discrete with the pump and reservoir, but the graphics card that I'm using is that 2080 Ti for the win, and it's a taller profile card, and it did not leave me the room to do that. So I'm going to use a combo block pump res.
If you tried using a angle grinder.
well, that would take it right down.
I don't object to doing that normally, but not for a review.
Okay, fair.
By the way, if
Yeah.
you are a old hardware enthusiast, the price of, I think I've mentioned this before, Gravis ultrasound sound cards of any kind, it's reaching the AdLib gold territory. We're at $1,000 for a Gravis ultrasound now.
Did someone figure out how to
Wow.
mine on them?
I don't know. If you have one, and you can find it, look at eBay right now. There's one from Germany that's currently at about $980 US with some time left on it. It's ending tonight, but 2 hours and 56 minutes from now, it's going for $983. It's complete in box, but even loose ones are going for over $600 now.
Good Lord, I'm going to have to go and get out my little box of
Yeah.
sound cards. It's not little, it's pretty big.
Josh, do you have an Interwave card? Those AMD sound cards from back in the day? It was kind of their Gravis clone.
Yeah.
Those are going for a lot of money too. I wanted to buy one because I was going to do this retro AMD build with an AMD 386 and an AMD Interwave sound card. No.
No go.
What is the world coming to?
I think we've got some Insonic PCIs.
Those are okay.
I'll have to take a look at those. Yeah.
The-
Got Vortex 2, Ariel.
How about older? Do you have like a A32, A64 Gold?
I don't know. I'm going to have to take a look. I've
What
got
about Sound Blaster
a couple
Pro
of really
2.0?
long ones. Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to check.
Yeah, if you get into the Sound Blaster 2 and A32, the original longer A32s, you're talking like $200 to $300 for a card now.
That's nuts.
The whole thing is just kind
insane.
of gone.
Why?
Just the rarity of it. There's a lot of vintage.
How about a Pro Audio Spectrum? Huh? How are those going?
Not that much. I have a couple of those. They're in the
Oh.
$40 to $60 range last time I looked.
Oh, that's disappointing.
But I mean, they're not trash. It's not like you look at those and like these are junk. There are cards that sell for next to nothing. Like PCI cards don't sell for as much. You want ISA cards, and they are crazy expensive.
Well, 10 years from now, it'll be PCI cards.
The standard?
But you know what? Well, a lot of the stuff goes through a very similar curve where it falls rapidly in value to like trash level, and then after some indeterminate amount of time goes way up in value again due to scarcity or some intrinsic value that's discovered but much later.
I was thinking about this because Ryan was posting stuff as he goes through what he calls his
Yeah, I saw
museum
those,
in his basement because
Yeah.
he's cleaning out his basement. And I'm like, don't get rid of that voodoo card. Voodoo cards do nothing but appreciate in value.
Yes, but that makes sense. Sound cards are the one thing I would think never have thought to, yep, I should squirrel these away because these are totally going up in price.
That's crazy.
I think Voodoo 2s right now, let's see. What's like a buy it now price on a Voodoo 2? Talking... Now,
Huh,
see, Josh,
not
that,
much.
that setup you've shown off before.
Oh,
Couple of Voodoo 2s.
Oh, here, you know what? The best part about it is that's within arm's reach.
Yes.
maybe next week
yeah,
it will
you should.
be.
You definitely grab that one.
But you see, I just don't want to get rid of them, even for $500. It's
Yeah.
just,
Because then you'd have to spend that much to buy him back.
I know, and I don't want to do that. Yeah, who'd have thought I'd be sitting on a gold mine? I've got the original Orchid Righteous 3D sitting back there as well. So that one's a 1995-96 product. Curious what the Voodoo 1 goes for.
Yeah, it's not this high, but I think any working Voodoo is $100 to $200.
What's a Voodoo 5 going for?
Oh Lord,
Because I've got a couple of Voodoo 3s.
let's look it up. VFX Voodoo 5.
Wow, 300 to
seems
600
oddly
bucks?
low.
Well, 305 is just it's going to go up. That's
That's
the
the first
auction.
bid. Yeah.
Still.
4 to 600. 600 if it's
Good
like,
grief,
you have
I've
to
got
if it's
two of
working.
those sitting down looking at me, and they're both working. And one is a pre-production with hand-soldered wires.
Because that
Now
at least was
suddenly those
incredibly
$300
rare.
1650s don't look that outrageously priced.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like the Voodoos, the original Voodoos, are still only in that $100 range.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, I mean they were $50 when they came out, but they're $100 now.
No, they were not. They were $399
Were
when
they?
they first came out. And
Oh,
then
okay.
Oh, they were
So at the
stupid
end that
expensive.
they were
original
50?
Voodoos? Oh,
Okay.
yeah. 4
Oh,
megs
yeah.
of EDO RAM, and it was before memory got cheap. And they started out $399 to $499, and then they got cheap, and you could get them for $299, and that's when they started flying off the shelves.
Yep.
I really only have one vintage piece of hardware.
Other than yourself.
You're
Oh,
2600.
Yes.
Atari.
Atari VCS. Which version is that? Let me hold it up there again.
This
Let me see.
is the
It's the 3, because the newer ones have only 2.
Yeah, this
2
is
per
the
side.
one
So it's just 3 switches.
they call
Yep.
the light. This is the one they call the Light Sixer, which is the second. The first model was called the Heavy Sixer. It was actually slightly larger than this, but the plastic on the chassis was also bigger, so the internal dimensions were the same. But those were the two 6-switch models. And this one
Why
is
I didn't
non-functioning.
keep mine.
I think I've got a heavy 6 downstairs someplace.
This actually, and Sebastian knows about this. I purchased this over a year ago now, and I was planning on doing an article, possibly a series of articles, which I'm still planning on doing, but haven't had the chance, where I'm going to build the world's most powerful Atari with a PC inside here.
Oh.
I'm not going to water cool that. There's not space.
Oh come on! There's not space to not water cool it. Think about it that way.
You could do it externally.
Toss it in the
I'm
bucket.
trying to. I'm really trying to keep it as the outer chassis as unmodified as I can. Obviously, I'll have to do a little trimming on the back for the rear I/O of the motherboard, but
Are you thinking Nook or are you thinking ITX?
it's going. I've got the parts actually. It's an ITX with a half-height 1650. And an HD Plex 440 watt power supply using a Dell, one of the huge Dell gaming laptop external bricks.
That's using a DC to DC buck converter internally. Just
Yes.
that's how that's possible.
By the way, before we
Alan's
go-
showing off his sound cards.
Oh,
gotta-
he is. Yes.
Uh-oh. Okay. I just want to say, if you have an ultrasound,
$4,000.
look specifically for the plug and play, because the plug and play is actually the AMD Interwave. If you look at the
Wow.
chip on it,
That's insane.
these get there's the Interwave
Wow.
chip. Those are so freaking valuable. I don't know why.
I'm with Jeremy. Did they
For
figure out how to mine on
$4,000, I would
those?
let mine go if I had one.
Oh yeah.
They're all over in Europe too. This one is in Hungary, and there's a bunch of people watching it. And he's asking 4,000 or best offer. You might be able to get it for like 3,500. You know, the right offer,
Yeah.
Interwave with a couple of SIM slots. Expand that wavetable
Is it really
palette.
for business purposes? Is it really?
What do you mean?
I'm not so sure.
Business purposes? I mean, if you're a
Well, you
streamer,
wanna write-
if you're Clint Bassinger, yeah, it would be for business purposes. But he already has one.
Just looking for the write-off on this one.
If you did a video about it for the channel, it would be a business expense.
I suppose.
And it would only be $192 for
curious.
24 months with PayPal credit. So just pull the trigger.
I
You
may
know
have
what?
to look in
I'll
my junk drawer.
definitely think about that.
Now, loose ones don't go
Yeah.
for anywhere near this much, but it is very hard to find an Interwave of any kind. And when you find them, they either go for $40 in 3 seconds because people didn't know what they were selling, or they go for hundreds of dollars. And they don't show up very often.
Because I got a full box of some of the older oddities and that Philips PCI sound card. I wonder what that is.
You and your PCI sound cards.
Sorry, I know that's...
It's ISA or nothing. Well, there are some more valuable PCIs, but not yet. It's early days.
True.
Oh, I should go look and see how much that old heavy Sixer is worth, huh?
Ah, not
Yeah.
nearly as exciting.
Oh no.
Sonic Edge, I think it is, or Dynamic. But it's a
Alan-
full box.
Alan has been showing off in the Discord. Hold on. Let's see what he has here. We could try to bring him
What are
on, but
those?
it's already midnight. The last time this happened, I think
No.
you guys were talking until at least 3 or 4 a.m.
Look, I eventually everything cut off, and that was
That
a very
may have been me. It may have been me.
No, I
don't
think
know
your
for sure.
machine just said enough and died. I think that's what happened. I would
All right,
never,
guys, I
never
gotta
allow
get outta
that to
here.
happen again.
All right, Josh. Good night.
Thanks for
Josh.
everything. Sorry I was
Yeah.
not high energy today. I didn't have any
Hey.
beers before. And I know, I only get a personality when I get beers.
Okay, it's okay. I saw the water and I knew what to expect.
Sad.
Good night.
Hashtag sad.
All right.
See you
Good night.
later.
One word, Josh. It'll give you the energy you need. There you go.
Monster gives you wings.
No.
We don't need wings.
All right, looks like Josh is gone. But here's Alan.
He has left the
showing
chat.
off his sound cards. Although, really, this bottom one, a crystal audio card, come on. But we have a little bit better up here. What is this one? This looks like a later A32. One of those more integrated ones. They weren't as long. Hard to
I
say.
love seeing the joystick ports stuck
yeah.
off the back.
And what I end up using them for more often is MPU 401 when they're compliant, because you can hook up your MIDI devices without having to have one of those.
Oh, the MIDI. Oh,
Because yeah, the if you have an MP401 interface card, you're sitting on, I don't know, $600 right there. If you have the complete kit with the external box, because there's a dongle that attached to the card, the sky's the limit for those. A complete MP401 setup is well over $1,000, possibly up to $2,000 by now. So I just get myself a Sound Blaster 16 and run one of those TSRs in the background to send through the game port, MP401 compliant game port, and hook them up that way, because I have a couple Roland boxes. And
I think you should review more audio. I think people would listen.
I get it. I get what you did there. No, I think that the time is right. Like, I'm missing out on the window. If availability of regular components is coming back at some point this year, I've wasted this whole opportunity to do a whole bunch of vintage stuff, the things you could actually buy, but the value has gone up so high. I've been watching in horror as everything has gotten twice as expensive in the last 12 months. Don't know if people are just bored watching YouTube videos and buying things on eBay over the last year and a half.
True.
But the value is just sky high on this stuff.
Several of the smaller YouTubers that I watch, not just tech, but audio and other things, have recently made videos where they're talking about their viewership numbers are just tanking. And they've been asking for feedback from their audience about, would you be interested if I changed the format, or if I started reviewing other things, or and a lot of it is exactly what you say. People can't buy things, especially in tech. Every freaking tech video I see now, it's like half the comments are, "I can't buy it."
Yeah.
It's.
I thought Linus's strategy with the verified gamer thing was a nice gesture, but it also makes sense, because how else are you going to continue a channel that's focused on hardware enthusiasts, tech upgrades, that sort of thing, when there's no availability of anything?
Oh,
So-
yeah. One way is to seed your audience, which is kind of what he's doing.
Right. If you were ever going to get into retro stuff, now's the time. And
True.
Apparently
it
not.
was the time, because now it's so exorbitantly expensive. The time was like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, before all these YouTube videos. But anyhow, yeah.
There's still time for me to put a Raspberry Pi on my Amiga. There's still time.
Yeah, the emulation has gotten so
No, buy one of those
sophisticated.
modular laptops. I bet you can stick a Raspberry Pi in one of the little sockets.
Yeah, just
Yeah, but it
have
wouldn't-
a
it wouldn't improve it.
USB-C interface.
It wouldn't improve it tremendously. It would.
No, why
there's
would
a
you
couple
do that?
of-
Because everything could just
Well-
be an emulator window.
Well, because there is actually a programmable Raspberry Pi that actually plugs into an Amiga with a specific system on it that helps it have a CPU and graphics output from it that it could never have achieved on its own. It's actually kind of a really cool program.
Okay.
Very updated, much higher resolution, faster emulated CPU, and fiendishly clever. In what
You don't want faster
they've done.
emulated CPUs. You want slower emulated CPUs. Well, I guess it depends on what you're trying to do.
Well, that's actually an important point, and what you're referring to is the NTSC burst signal, and how a lot of the software was synced to that 4.15 megahertz clock rate. At one time, a lot of the software was using it as a synchronization mechanism, and if you outran that, some of the old software would act really bizarre.
Like the original
and-
Wing Commander is hard to run.
It would overrun, and it would not run properly. It would run too fast, or it just wouldn't run.
That's
at all.
what Windows 3.1 was for.
Yeah.
Running things slowly.
To keep your system
Yeah,
from
you
running
boot
too
into
fast.
that, and then you could actually do Wing Commander without going insane. Slowed it down just enough.
I think I still have Wing Commander around somewhere.
Did you know you can actually install Windows 95 on a 386 SX, which is not much faster than a 286 because it has the 16-bit external.
Mm-hmm.
It was It was the folded down 16-bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just that's the kind of pain. People used to get excited about new releases of operating systems, of course, and
Those were the days, weren't they?
yeah, if you were on a 386 DX and you spent good money on it, imagine the Windows 98 experience on that
I do. I remember it.
with 8 megabytes of RAM.
Yeah.
Maybe 16 if you were rich.
Super.
We
rich.
weren't rich, but there was also the different ways of booting up depending on how you wanted that RAM to work, which made it even more entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
True, you had to map it, and you could change it as to do
Yeah.
you want 640K
XMM or EM, wasn't it?
extended?
You wanted compatibility,
No.
but not every application liked those EMM configurations. You had some of them required a separate boot disk just to get the memory management going.
Oh, I remember.
Because all gaming was still DOS, of course, until 3D became
course.
really prevalent, and there were games based on, well, DirectX really is what did it.
So you essentially, very much like a console, in some cases, you booted your machine to play one particular game. And
Absolutely.
you booted in a particular mode
Exactly.
to play that
Either
game.
it came with a boot disk, or
you
you,
made
would
one.
create one as part of the install process that would have its own
Correct.
memory management built in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you either figured it out, or if you were lucky, you had a BBS that would help you.
Yeah, I still remember being kind of amazed at, like, I could just double click on something and just play a game. I just remember when did it stop that I had to boot the machine into the game? That was sort of a nice advancement.
It's
was
so
just
much more fun to
remembering-
talk about this retro stuff than I haven't talked about this at all. I have my own personal PC. I started this build last year early, maybe at the end of 2019. I still have no GPU. I have a case. I have a CPU I've never taken out of the package. RAM I never took out of the package after I bought it from Newegg. I have this stuff sitting around, and there's no GPU. So I have no motivation to finish this thing. I'm using a laptop from 2015 to write articles on right now, and I could not care less about my PC build anymore because my original plan to put a 2080 Ti in it was just like, forget this.
Do you not have any review samples sitting there?
Yes,
that you
but
can
this was
put
like
in there?
I wanted it to be all stuff that I bought, like my personal system, not just borrowing review units, which I've been doing for years now, where it's just like you drop in whatever is to hand and use that for a while. But I haven't even had a install of Windows that I've kept for more than like 3 or 4 months because I would just install it without a key, do testing, grab a new build, throw new coolers on it, new whatever. But just I have no dedicated PC that I can call my own anymore because everything I had I parted out, and then I couldn't buy new. So
Yeah, that got really pricey. My gaming gear is a 1080 Ti and an 8700K.
there's a reason that
back when it was affordable.
that Steve Burke runs famously on an FX 8350 or whatever it is. It's just
It's true.
he wanted to run
He
his
does.
own personal hardware and didn't see any reason to upgrade. I'm assuming is why. It's like I live on a console and DOS box basically, so I don't really care what the PC is.
Oh, and your Mac, of course.
Yeah, my
Which you-
2015 MacBook Pro that's covered in dents and dings and
Yes.
but it's the one
But
laptop
just-
that's strong enough to withstand my son so far. Like he has dropped that thing off the couch multiple times. It's fine.
They are fairly tough, I've noticed.
Well, they used to be.
Well, I have the same
Brett-
era. I have a 2011. 2011-17. It is
But
extremely
this is
tough.
going back to something you mentioned a little earlier, but I see that GOG has the entire Wing Commander library on their store.
It's dirt cheap too, right?
Yeah, it's
Is it,
$5.99 a game.
Is it patched to run on Windows 10?
I am pretty sure that everything that they put up is patched to run on modern hardware.
Oh yeah,
and
because any of the stuff
OSs.
on the Windows side, because it's spotty on the Mac side, And there's anything that's DOS based will run on Linux as well, but on Windows it's no issue at all because
Where do I have them?
they're just running on DOSBox and it's fully compatible with Windows 10.
Well, those guys are really, really good at this, and I have a deep appreciation for them making it so seamless to run old stuff on modern OSs.
Yeah, 'cause
because
you don't
it's
need to-
such a pain in the ass.
It's not that
I
big of a
mean-
pain to configure DOSBox once you get it up and running. It's not.
I guess.
But
You know,
They don't-
you can always play. You can always play Wing Commander 4, The Price of Freedom, and watch a middle-aged Mark Hamill romance a former porn star. You know.
you can do
No,
that.
it's
That's
fun.
not what I was thinking at all.
You
But
can do
sure.
that at 320 by 200 resolution or whatever those FMVs are.
I see this sell $6. Wing Commander 1 and 2 is $5.99.
99.
Oh my gosh, there's the tiger picture. Or the lion, sorry.
They don't have all of the Westwood stuff yet, do they? I know they added Blade Runner.
They got a chunk, but no, they're still working on a bunch of it.
I want to see like Command and Conquer Tiberian Sun, that kind of stuff.
Oh
I don't
my
remember if they
gosh.
got that one.
I think
I
they
still
got
have the
Tiberian
install
Sun.
discs for that over on the shelf someplace.
Yes.
Both of those, actually.
But a couple years ago, they got Warcraft 1 and 2, and those look great. Even on modern monitors, there's like integer scaling you can choose right from the menu, and it fills up most of the screen. Looks really sharp. I played through Warcraft 2 again, as many times as I played through that game, but that and the expansion after that came out on GOG.
How's this going to look on my ultra wide?
You're going to have some black space to the sides.
Hey, by the way, last week's pick, my ultra wide, I just checked it today because I had to like remove everything because of the copy, and I was like, I don't know how much that costs. It went up like $90 between last week and this week. When I pointed out this, like, yeah, this is unusually cheap. If anybody wanted one, they should have bought it last week.
Yeah.
It's now being
Bah.
used for monitor mining.
Whatever. But the point
I
is
keep
that
reading-
it wa-
Reports
left
of everything going
behind.
up. Like displays the next thing. Like 30% increase in TV costs is expected. So
well, it went up 20-ish, I guess 20, almost 20%. I guess. Yeah, 20%. It was like high threes last week. It's like 369, 370, something like that. And it's 460, 470 this week. So, yeah, last week was the week to buy it.
just people, PSA, take care of your TV because it might get expensive to replace. And don't do what I did and take it off the wall and put it on a stand because it's like, oh, my son's old enough now. It's fine. And then discover,
Oh.
to your horror, impact damage to the lower left corner where there is now a black dead area on the OLED. That's about a 1/2 inch wide and an 1/8 of an
Does
inch
that,
tall.
does that hurt? Does that hurt right here?
It
Does that hurt?
does. I mean,
Yeah.
I have been coming to terms with this for weeks. I've not been talking about it publicly. There's a lot of pain when I discovered this, and I was like, "Oh no!" Running like the panel noise, like utility and stuff. Like, no, this is damage. This is physical impact damage. I've seen this before on the corner of OLED phones. Something hit the corner of this TV with great force. But I bought it in 2016. It's almost 5 years old.
Do you find yourself having your eyes kind of steer away from that corner so that you don't?
Well, here's the great thing.
accidentally-
It's only in the very bottom left-hand corner. So if you watch anything letterbox, it's not there because the pixels are just
Oh, yeah,
off
it's
anyway.
gone.
So
Yeah,
it's
gone.
my cinematic display now. Just don't watch anything that
okay.
takes up the entire screen that's bright because you'll see a black smudge in the lower left. I'm waiting for it to travel up. Like, is this going to move up like it does on phones, where it's going to become a blob and then it's going to be the size of a softball?
Well, that would be your excuse.
Right.
This needs to be replaced.
And then I tell my wife,
we
it's got
have
to
to
be
replace
replaced.
this.
I know that TV
Yes.
prices are double what they were last year, but we've got it.
Yes.
And, you know, while
It's
while
either that
we're
or
at
we
it-
replace the kid. One of the
yeah,
two.
and kids are expensive.
Yeah,
So,
they
which
are.
is more expensive? A kid
Go
or
for the
a 65? And not just a 65.
Keep
If you're
the
going to
TV.
buy the new TV, honey, the 77. You know, they make OLEDs in 77 inches. Did you know that? And then, like, oh, I don't know, do whatever you want to do. And then you just, like, plunk down the credit card and don't let her
Right.
see the statement.
And all you have to do is beat her in golf. That's it.
Yeah, that's I don't know if I get to take any of the credit for that or not, but in Everybody's Golf, which is that like it was formerly Hot Shots Golf. It's pretty good actually. It's a pretty realistic golf sim. She is pretty much my equal. It's always a crapshoot who's going to win. It always comes down to the last hole, and usually extra holes. We'll play 9 holes, then 10, then 11. We're still tied. Match play. I guess if we did stroke play, maybe there'd be a more... I don't know. It's just...
Yeah, I think it's time. I think I just saw the Discord here. It's time for 77 8K.
That I don't need 8K.
Why not blaze that trail?
I
I
use it
don't
as a
need
monitor.
77 inches.
You know, this would be a business expense. If I buy this as my test monitor to do 8K game testing, I could
Oh, I think you
rationalize
should.
that.
You absolutely
I
should.
mean, I don't have $20,000 to spend on a monitor.
Is that how much it is?
Just $19,999.
Well, and it's of course it's out of stock.
Well, you wouldn't get the 77 anyway. Get the 88. If you're getting
Oh.
8K, get the one that's 88 inches, and that's just $29,999.99
Oh, and it's in stock.
in stock. You could pay later with Klarna. Just get it
Why
now.
not?
Worry about paying for it later.
It's almost what
Would
I
you,
paid used for my AMG.
Would you keep this in strike range, or would you maybe hang this on the wall out of reach?
No, I would never be able to own anything like this because I would have to surround
Ah.
it with a like a bulletproof glass shield.
How old does your son have to be before you can buy something like this?
Old enough to replace
Oh.
it for me when he breaks it.
24.
Good.
I was going to say old enough to be not in the house anymore.
Yeah, old enough to have a
Exactly.
full-time job and buy Dad a new TV.
Yep. Well, maybe you will.
You know what you should do is start making like a ledger. And when he gets to that age, you can say, okay, now here's the list of all the things of mine you've broken and their approximate value. So I expect
today's
payments
dollars.
in
Oh yeah,
today's
with
dollars.
adjusted for inflation.
adjusted
Yes.
for inflation. Yes.
Yep. And present him with an invoice and
I'm
saying, you
pretty
know
good
what,
at-
you can work this off.
Blocking that stuff out because right now I can't think of anything else. But there's been so much stuff that it's just I don't even want to remember.
Wasn't there a mesh
There's that,
office chair? Well,
Well, there was that too.
Priceless,
Yeah.
priceless
Enterprise.
Enterprise is what I was thinking.
The
The
Enterprise.
Yeah, we've kept the more expensive collectibles away. That was a lesson learned. Don't give them the stuff that sells for $200 on eBay. Give them the stuff that's like $10 or $5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although after he gets done with it, it is only worth about $5 for parts.
Well, he's cost reducing it for you.
He's trying to declutter
Yes.
my life by breaking everything.
Does
I own.
I'm going to scroll back here and see if anybody else has got anything they want.
Yeah. I think I might drop off.
It's time to go. Let's
Yeah,
all
it's time
drop
to go.
off together. I'm going to stop the recording, which for some reason is still going.
Well, why not?
Right?
You never
Just
know.
To make it even
Could
a
be.
more insanely large file.
Could be comedic gold. You never know when it's going to strike.
You never know. You never know.
No.
All right.
Kent, thanks for being on tonight.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.
You're welcome back.
Really
anytime.
lightened my mood after I was so pissed off about that streaming PC not booting.
Oh,
Hey, a streaming
I
understandable.
saw
PC not
you,
booting isn't as bad as an OLED TV being broken.
No.
This is
it's not.
absolutely
No.
true.
Yeah. My somehow my wife is listening, or she's actually right above me, but she's like, "Hey, don't forget the AirPod." He took an AirPod out of my ear. This was a couple
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Put it in his mouth. So I'm
Yeah.
watching him in horror, and just bit down as hard as he could and crunched the thing. And I took it from him. And was like, he just completely squashed it. There was no fixing it. It didn't work right after that. Like, why?
gosh.
Just staring at him. Why? He was 3. Why did you do this? These are $160. He's just staring at me.
He took them out of your ear.
Yeah,
to
he was
eat
sitting
it.
on my lap. We were at the computer together. Sitting on my lap. He reaches over, pulls it out, and bites it. I don't know why I even had it in. I'm always listening to like an audiobook or something around the house, and he just rips it out, bites it. Okay.
That should be an important lesson for you to get much faster.
Yeah.
Like,
Make sure
See,
your
my
earwax
cat-
tastes worse.
Our cats will never be at a point where they can get a job to pay for the things of ours that they've broken and ruined. So you have that going for you.
Actually, this reminds me. Another thing he destroyed. It was a pair of over-ear headphones. It cost something or other. He took
It's
them
all
in his
coming
hands,
back
and I'm
to
like,
you now.
"Put those down. Put those down." And he starts bending them the wrong way, like a reverse
they'll
U.
never-
And then he kept bending. I'm like,
they'll
"Julian,
never-
put it down. Stop, stop!" And then snap, and he broke the headband.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Why? He just likes to destroy things. It's all coming back now. I don't want to remember anymore.
Yeah.
5
No,
years
you
of this.
know, were those good cost headphones?
They were decent. They weren't super expensive,
they're-
but
There
They
were a
were
lot of
nice.
like bad cost headphones, but I had a couple.
they
of
were
really
not the
nice
$5
cost headphones.
cheapies. They were probably about $30-$40.
The nice thing about Koss headphones is they all have a lifetime warranty, and some of their
The
cheap
cover being
ones sound.
broken in half.
If they're cheap ones, they'll send you another pair for shipping. It's great.
So I could get another set of SST6s, is what you're saying. They've been out of production for 30 years. I could send those in, and
You can get your Porta Pros fixed.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't have anything nice because my Porta Pros, which I finally bought another pair after having them as a kid, they were my favorite headphones. Porta Pro Juniors, with the metal band that you can like fold up into a little circle. I got another pair, and then our German Shepherd chewed them up. So
They've got
within
like,
about a week, I think, maybe 2 weeks.
Koss has like 5 different headphone models now, all based off the driver of the Porta Pro, and they all sound great.
Yeah,
For-
very
yeah.
bassy, but very good overall sound.
It depends on which model.
Okay, my Porta Pro Juniors were always a little bass heavy, but they still had good clarity. I was just remembering it wrong. It also depended on how you wore it on your ear too. Like for extreme bass, put it directly over the ear hole. For lighter bass, shift them towards the back of your ear. It's like with
Oh.
Grados. You put different ear pads on Grados, it totally changes the sound. With any headphone, really. But the distance
Absolutely.
of the transducer from your ear, the angle of the transducer, it all changes the sound.
The thickness of the foam,
Yeah.
the density of it.
Right.
oh, that's true.
Denser
These,
foam, better bass.
These Biodynamics that I wrote the review on a year and a half ago or so now, they came with 2 sets of pads. And one set was called Balanced, and one was Analytical. And they have a very different sound signature. And for what I listen to, I love the Balanced pads.
Oh, somebody wants
But they look the same, but the foam is denser in the balance pads, and so they've got slightly more bass.
For anyone who wanted that picture of Josh for their phone background, I had to put it full
Because
screen.
this will not be in the edited version of this
No,
show.
I'm not even recording
And-
anymore.
If you're a patron, you get the full live recording.
Yeah. If you
And
want to
only
subject
for
yourself to
patrons.
that. Yes.
Yes. But this, what you're seeing right now, is ephemeral. It's gone. It'll never be seen again. That's why you're here.
Okay. I need to go to bed.
It's time for bed, man.
It is time for bed. It's 12:22 a.m. on the East Coast.
We did good tonight. We did good.
Yeah.
Burned right through those.
I guess. I thought we were doing good, and then it's still after midnight, so
Yeah, well.
that's
you know,
okay.
What are you
It
going
was
to
a
Well, we
good talk.
finished the show, and we've just been hanging out. So.
Yeah.
And you guys need bed, and I just had a monster, so I'm up for a while.
Yeah, you got to
That's
run
fine.
around a bit.
All right. I'll talk to you
I'm gonna
early in
fi-
the morning.
I'm going to fix a streaming PC now.
Oh no!
Right,
All
you're going to
well,
move
good
on to
luck
the
there.
Atari right after that.
That is a
You know
cool
what? I could-
project. I was like, hey man, if you want to do that, that sounds great. You go right ahead and do that. You can make a
The
series.
thing
out of
that's
it.
been holding me back has actually been COVID, because I want to make the switches operational, but at least the ones that make sense to have operational, on, off, all that. But the PCB that those switches are attached to the switches are 6 pins, and I've got a friend who's very good with electronics, and he can help me with that. That's not my forte.
My power switch actually broke on my earlier one. It's like it got all loose inside there, so you've got to actually, kind of wiggle it in such a way to get it to turn on. But we were very young when we first got that. I think we beat it. I think we beat
with
on
a
it.
stick. Yes.
I
Yeah.
remember greatly the Christmas morning, 77 or 78.
It was something like
Right after they came out. It wasn't even called the 2600 then. It was just the video computer system,
that. The VCS.
VCS.
Atari
That's right, because they
VCS.
differentiated the number later after the next model came out, right?
The 5200. And
Retroactively,
I don't know if my parents still have it. I had a 5200, which, by the way, had the worst controller of anything ever.
Yes, it did.
well documented on Angry Video Game Nerd video.
I might still have a dent in my palm from that thing.
And my folks still had that whole thing and all the games until just a few years ago. I don't know if it's
And
still
then they
there.
burned them.
No, I could build a system in that easy because that thing was huge.
That's just waiting for that swoop at the end of the curve to go like, oh, suddenly it's worth a whole lot of money again.
It's just it depends. Some viral video like, hey, there were actually some pretty good games for the system, and then suddenly it's worth money again.
Yes.
We don't even want to
Something
get
like that.
into PlayStation 1 RPGs right now.
Nope, we don't.
Ludicrous.
The
was
thing I
lamenting
loved
this with
about
a
the
guy,
5200 was, if you got Pac-Man for the 5200, it looked just like Pac-Man in the arcade.
It's
The
true, it
games the games looked exactly like the arcade games.
Do you remember trying to play Pac-Man on the 2600?
Oh my
It was terrible. It was not good.
No.
Yeah, I heard E.T. was a good game. Yeah, it was the best.
Yeah.
It's famous.
It was
Even
super.
better. Let's get into the obtuse stuff, like the Atari Jaguar. Maybe get into some like Wonder Swan handheld action, the SX, like the color.
They had a computer out at the same time.
N-Gage
The
or
Atari,
nothing.
Atari ST series.
The
was-
Atari ST is a legendary system.
and the
And
Atari
it had
400,
MIDI,
the Atari 800.
inputs and outputs. A lot of electronic positions were into those systems. Even well into the 2000s, like Fatboy Slim famously used
Look,
Atari
I-
ST.
I had an Amiga, and it was almost worth a fist fight with the Atari owners. So I don't want to talk about it very much.
At least you weren't a commie.
No, well, maybe a little bit. I had a Commodore 64 as well before that, and the Amigas were all Commodores, of course.
RCA video
Yep.
disc, that was the CED. That was that, like, it looked like a vinyl record that was dipped in metal plating. Actually, the first time I ever saw Monty Python on the Holy Grail was a CED rip that somebody had copied a CED to a VHS.
Oh, wait a minute. You didn't watch the Laserdisc version?
I didn't
thought that
have
was the only way
access to
came.
it. I was at someone's
Ah.
house. They had it on just a blank VHS tape, and it was a copy off of a CED from somebody. And there was a part that skipped. That was the amazing thing. Is that yes? It was. I couldn't understand it until I read about it years later. Like it actually had grooves. CED looks like an LP.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane to think about that they were using just vibrations off of a stylus to do color information and sound.
How did they manage the bandwidth off of that?
And I agree with the chat. The
okay.
Laserdiscs look beautiful, but working Laserdisc players are insanely expensive now. This stuff is breaking down right and left.
Yep. Well, we had to take a break in order to flip it over. Actually,
Some
it was
of them did it
convenient.
automatically. They were
Well,
fancy,
when I
but
was
yeah, there was still a
watching, they did
momentary.
not.
There was still that momentary, like things would freeze and then start up again as it
Yes,
switched
you always
from
knew
layer
to
one
change
to
sides.
side one to side two.
Yep. And certain DVDs, people don't remember this either. DVDs actually had some of them were two-sided at one point.
I
time as
have
well.
two-sided
Actually, I had to
DVDs
flip
that
over.
have letterbox on one side and full screen on the other. My
Yeah, I
copy of
have some of those
Drowning
too.
Mona is like that.
Well, in Canada,
you
it was
remember which
very
movie.
common. You'd have English on one side and French on the other.
Hey, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you couldn't really do the two audio tracks at that point. At least not
Right.
effectively.
If you saw one of those double-sided, you knew it was low bit rate. Like, oh, this is gonna be like a 5
Oh, yeah.
bit.
Yeah,
It's not like
because it's
Criterion
this
where
is-
one movie's on 2 dual-layer
This is
DVDs at 10
jammed.
megabit. Yeah.
They jammed this in there. It's going to be bad.
I don't know if I guess Laserdisc is technically analog. I don't know. It's still
It
digital.
is.
But
No,
the audio is
an
analog.
encoding, I think.
Okay.
The audio was.
It's hard for me to wrap my head around.
We should do
All
more
right,
of this.
guys.
We should do more of
I'm
this
running away.
sort of
You guys
yeah,
have
we need
fun
to have
with
some
this.
show and
retro
tell.
stuff.
All right.
All right.
Well, good
Hey,
night,
good
all.
night,
Good
everybody.
night, guys.
Taking the stream down.